He wanted a girl that lost her virginity to him and belonged to him, but he wanted to sleep with other girls.
It is spiritual abuse. I think that's...
Wow,
I
never
think
heard that. Yeah,
it's...
Embrace what happened to you, accept it, welcome it in, but then say to yourself, like, what can I take from this? What did I learn?
Ginger guy just pulls back his hand, knocks the guy, falls down. First gym guy goes down.
Oh my God.
Then the second gym guy runs forward, down as well.
You are really aware of everything that's happening. I know.
Can't even dissociate.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I'm like, exactly. I'm like, fuck.
Had a little tiny traffic cone stuck in his lung because when he was a child, he ate it or like inhaled it, and then he lived with it for 40 years in his lung.
That's miraculous.
And then the doctor like took it out and was like, "What the fuck is
reached
this?"
down his throat.
With his hand and took it out.
Of his lung.
God.
I'm taking the piss, definitely not with his hand. He had like a special tool.
I was like, how'd you get in there?
How'd you do that?
Like this.
Punctures the lung. Oh, no, damn.
Oh, damn.
We ran out of anesthesia, so yeah. Open your mouth.
Here's
Open your mouth.
some tequila. Oh, man.
Say tequila.
Oh,
Tequila.
shit. Wait, are we keeping track on the timer on this?
Yeah,
camera?
it's fine. I started over.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Oh my God, you guys are professionals.
Ready?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
And welcome to No One's Looking, the podcast where you can say
Whatever the fuck you want.
I'm your host, Maggie.
And I'm Melanie.
And today we have two very special guests, Beth and Selby. Beth is a really good friend of mine and she's an author. She wrote the book, The Curry Home, which is all about Scottish living. And that's how we met. She interviewed me for her book and the rest is history.
Maggie does interior design, so hire her.
I used to do interior design. Don't hire me. I'm not going to do it for you. And Selby is my partner of 5 years.
Ooh.
And very much my other half. We're basically glued at the hip. We do everything together.
I do not
she's
agree.
lying.
Only consensual.
I'm only holding her at gunpoint to tell them that we are.
Yes. Yes.
Fucking love me.
I'm not sure anymore. No, I love you, baby. I love you.
And
Just had to say that.
And
Just-
I'm
just to
Melanie. No, just
and this is Melanie, and everybody knows who she is, so we don't need to say. So, actually, yes, Selby, do you want to say anything about your background at all?
Who
I
are
mean,
you?
where do you want me to start?
Okay, no.
Birth or eventual death?
From the very beginning, please.
I was going to
From
say
the
that.
the
I was
womb.
once an embryo.
Once upon a time.
I was going to say more like business. So, like, Selby ran a robotics company, and now he works like in the med tech industry.
That kind of sums it up, yeah.
Yeah.
Sums it up.
Basically, long story short.
He's a businessman.
He really is, and he's helping us with our business as well. So we're
Yeah,
lucky.
so hire him.
Only the
No.
stuff more like, only the finance. Yeah. I'm an accountant.
Yeah, you're the accountant. I'm an accountant.
He's actually a stripper, so
In my spare time, obviously.
He wears the highest heels ever as well.
yeah.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, guys, on this episode, we've got the theme of childhood. So, but we're gonna kind of like put a little twist into it. So, how about we analyze how relationships in our lives affected us, and like we'll kind of like go through childhood up until now. And then we'll also, so Beth is single and she's dating.
Yeah.
And
So
then
hit her up.
Yeah, look at her. She's beautiful. Thank you. So Beth is single. Obviously, Melanie has a partner. He was on the previous episode.
Yeah.
And how long have you been with Brodie?
Apparently, we were twins in another life. So apparently, lifetimes we've been together.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Great answer.
So yeah, lifetimes.
You're lifetime. yeah, so basically, like, Melanie has dated around quite a lot before, so
Yeah, I
she's
was a
got. So there you go. So she's got the perspective
I
of
own
a,
it.
of an owning slut.
Yeah, owning that whole vibe. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a vibe, and I enjoyed it, and I miss it.
Just
sorry, Brodie. Sorry,
It's called being a free spirit.
he knows I miss it.
This is very open.
There you go. And then
It's a good
obviously, Brodie. What? What? I mean, Selby.
I mean, we all share here.
So Selby's obviously gone through his, like, you know, we've got a male perspective here. He's gone through his fair share of being a bit of a fuckboy as well. So I guess basically
Friendships.
we'll have like different perspectives going on here, which I think is quite fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Sluts.
United.
the two sluts unite and talk about it.
Yes. We started a club, a Facebook group.
10,000
Sluts
members
United.
already. Just this week.
You're the admin,
Just
but you can't
yesterday.
actually like
Yeah.
take part.
Exactly. I've got a wee bit of like a sweat mustache going, so
The fan is like behind. So,
yeah, I can feel it from behind.
Melanie. Okay. Before Melanie gets too carried away with her sexual
Too
remarks, I'm just gonna kick it off by asking Beth, what was your childhood like?
My childhood was really great. And I think we were discussing this beforehand. My background is I grew up in rural Scotland. It was great. My family are religious, from both sides, Scottish Protestants, but my parents were really chill. But I think what was interesting was, the community input that can really affect you for like decades after, so my parents were really chill, but I went to church and actually have like my best friendship group is from church, self-named the God Squad, but ironically like none of us go to church anymore.
That's a great
But
name.
it's a great,
Such
you
a
can't
great
change the group name after you've been having that group chat for a while. Great times, but what I found, I think basically what I've had to unpick in my 20s was that kind of relationship that you start to have with yourself and other people through Christianity as a woman, where some people tell you, so I used to go to these Christian camps and they
I went to church camp.
and they were really fun. It was a wee bit of a fuck fest in a way, which is quite ironic, right? And they're telling you in quite a juxtapositionally way of that you as a woman, are supposed to be subservient. You're supposed to, just give yourself away to other people in a kind of caring way all the time, and you're supposed to wait to marriage and all these things. And you're basically, in my experience, we were kind of communicated to that we were maybe lesser than men, and you were told that obviously sex and that was wrong, and yet the value that they were kind of assigning you as a woman was that through men. So you were kind of trying to find that in a way. And so basically long story short, went to all these camps from like P4, so that's what, I don't know how old that is, like quite young.
8.
Yeah,
I was like 8. That's like Aldous is in P4, so he's 8. Like
that's it then. Yeah, from 8 to 18,
young.
We had these great times in camp, but I think they kind of warped my sense of what relationships should be, my self-value, and I basically started to look through that value through other people, especially men, because that's kind of what I was communicated to, which was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun, but it's also not the most healthy relationship.
No,
so that's kind of like one of the biggest themes, I'd say, on this topic for me.
Do you feel like guys that were in that kind of circle, like during your like church camp phase, treated you differently because they were taught to be that way? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I
think so. And I think they knew, and you can still see it. I mean, we'll get on to dating later, but there's like Christian dating apps and that, and you can see you can see them doing it. And it's for decades I've experienced it. I think they know that they've got the power because there's genuinely less guys than girls in those cultures, or
so
particularly over here there is. And they're just like, oh, I've got all the cake and I'm just gonna no. And it's just like, for fuck's sake. But
Wait. Have you ever used one of those apps?
I briefly used, there's one called Salt, which is like aesthetically very pleasing, but that's where it stops for me.
Nothing is pleasing afterwards.
Yeah.
And is there like an expectation at all when you're on the app, like, oh, everybody knows that there's no sex before marriage, or like, is there any like expectations of this is what you are if you're on this app, other than being Christian?
Yeah, I think so. It's quite, I find it a wee bit cringe. It's very Christian, and it's just not fair. You know, I feel like it's a huge tangent, but I have a friend that's on it at the moment, and she in her words said that someone communicated to her that they knew that she was on the second time rounders, so like the people that had been divorced, like the guys that had been divorced, and that they were coming back on it. And that was literally what this dude was like. It was like, oh, you're lucky there's these guys. And just like, no, that's not cool.
How old is she?
She's 37, so...
Oh, okay, so...
Yeah.
How dare you assume?
What prick?
But these things, like, I think that's what I'm really realising at the moment, is it just starts really young, and you've got to be super careful, you know, even in the best intentions. Like, my parents were like, oh, she really enjoys those camps, go off to those camps. And yeah, I'm just like, oh, I kind of wish that I didn't, because...
Yeah, because it definitely helps like shape your mind in that sense. Like where I'm from the States, like down south, and it's heavily religious. Like genuinely, like if you don't believe in God and go to church, like where the time when I grew up, they were like, oh, you obviously worship the devil then. Like it was like so heavily like religion shoved down your throat. And I went to church camp. And I only went because all my friends were going. So I just wanted to hang out with my friends. And then you'd get to go to like, my family, we grew up, we didn't have like a lot of money or anything. So you would go to this like really fancy like Christian lady's house that had a huge house to like accommodate like 10 girls like for a sleepover. And it was really, really fun. But like, all I was focused on was just making out with like boys at New York. That's all I wanted to do. I was like, when can we like, you know, I can pretend to be like, yeah, praise Jesus and stuff like that, and then like run off and be like, do you want to go make out in the park? Like, do you know what I mean?
No, 100%. It's so heightened. And I can imagine that. Yeah, because it was kind of similar for me. Like, you're like, this is the height of my summer. This is the resources are all in this thing, and yet, as you said, you're just like, oh, the things that I want to do are not.
So all these things to get through this. So I can go and hang out.
Exactly. 100%.
And you're kind of at the age where you're kind of trying to experiment as well and discover yourself.
Exactly.
So to be in an environment where you have all of the possible distractions that you would want in that environment, it would be quite surprising, I think, now that I'm an adult, to be putting teenagers in that position and not expecting them
100%.
to, you know, experiment or to do things that, you know, you've already gone through.
No, I definitely think like religion can be like as a way for people to stay hopeful, like, do you know, and hold on to that kind of sense of like hope. And obviously if you need it and it's helping, like keep going, like keep doing it. But it's just like such a shame when people use it actually like to shame, like, you know, it's like and like shame and blame and be like, this is the rules, you're not abiding. Whereas like life should be free, like you should be 100%. Free in all aspects, like it is your choice, like through and through.
And it is spiritual abuse, so I think that's
I never heard that.
It's a thing. And actually in Scotland there's dialogue within the Church of Scotland to fund more initiatives dealing with spiritual abuse, because especially if someone's in a really vulnerable state, like a child, or someone who's maybe, you know, got mental health issues of other people, like it is important to acknowledge, you know, even though religion can, or spirituality can be a good thing and can, exactly as you said, can be a source of hope, you know, we've got to be really careful, like when you introduce that into someone's lives, because I in my opinion, I don't think you should do that if someone's maybe in recovery from drug addiction or something. I don't think that's necessarily
you're
the right
replacing
time.
one crutch with another.
Exactly. And they're not, and it's just not fair.
No, I get that. Like that's like the whole like jailhouse Jesus and stuff. Have you heard of that? That's like it's like just because you like found God in jail when you had nothing else to do and the only book you're allowed to read in jail is the Bible, like doesn't mean I'm gonna forgive you, like, do you know what I mean? So like just like really interesting. But if it gives you hope, and it kind of like, again, I'm reading this book, and also I read this other book, Man Seeking Meaning, and it's like, if it gives you purpose and it gives you that kind of like aspect to like keep moving on and keep living, and kind of like gives you purpose, then that's good. But if you're using it to control and manipulate and to like suit other people to your values and how you view the world, then that's not okay. That's just spiritual abuse. Yeah, but I've never heard that. I really like that. I'm gonna use it all the time. You're spiritually abusing me.
Yeah. I feel spiritually abused.
I think there's obviously take on to your point there about Man Searching Meaning. I also read the same book recently.
It's a great book.
And I was having maybe not a challenge, but I'd come to a point in my life where I am, I guess now, a couple months later, where I'd realized that my life is not all about the purpose that I'd initially set myself to. I set myself goals and objectives, following a sort of ecosystem, and a construct that I'd read about called Ikigai.
Yeah,
it was basically the Japanese reason for living, or their concept around reason for living and your purpose. And I was following that concept, and I'd kind of met my Ikigai, my passion, my work, my survival, and also my desire to help others. I'd kind of started to achieve those four things, but something was still missing. And I read that book, and I found that the way that people go through life may be slightly different in terms of where you're born, who you're born to, the parents you're born to, the country, the state, the education provided, the people you meet at the right place at the right time, the opportunities that are presented to you based on your upbringing, what you look like, who you are, where you come from, can all be different. But along the way, you can all go through similar circumstances, maybe at different times in your life, but you all go through something similar, and we're all searching for meaning. And I discovered that I was actually still searching for meaning, even though I'd gone through this methodology of figuring out that I had a purpose, but something was still missing. And there's this other book that I'm reading recently by Jordan Peterson called The 12 Rules for Life. And he put it really, really well, I think, which is that freedom is one thing that we strive to. And when we have freedom, doesn't mean that our strive is over. And there's this other kind of almost balancing part of freedom, which is responsibility. It's realizing that you may be free to choose all these things that you do, but on the other hand, you're responsible for the choices that you make. Hello. Thanks for grabbing my hand. So I think applying that to my own life, I realized that not only am I responsible for my own choices, and I'm free to make my own choices, and I'm very, very lucky by the opportunities that have been presented to myself by my circumstances, my upbringing, whatever you want to call it. But I'm also responsible for the choices I make going forward. And that kind of, it can also be scary, but it can be really empowering. And I think if people realize that you are free to choose to, like obviously you said, the way people were perceiving perhaps passages in the Bible, or perceiving that they can treat you in a certain way, that they're free to choose that. By all means, they are free to choose that path, but they are also responsible for the outcome. And if they are not prepared to take responsibility, then they are not prepared to make the choice, and they are just avoiding making that real choice, or they don't want to, how would I say this? They don't want to look upon that with an open mind. They prefer to kind of sit in their kind of box and go, oh no. And I think that kind of happened to me for a bit, where I was focused on work. And then suddenly I was like, my eyes opened to the fact that I could do more, or I can choose to do more, and I can choose to find a balance, but I also have to be responsible for my choices. And that comes all the way back to what we're talking about now, which is when you are engaged in this sort of, discussion and what's happened to you, and I'm sure there'll be many more stories tonight. We are all responsible for the choices that we're making, but so are the other people who are making those choices and impacting us.
And also, the culture or the context of which you came probably will also affect those choices as well, and it's knowing that it's not your fault for what's happened, but you've got a certain amount of power moving forward to control the narrative where you go next, and I've definitely, I think it's really interesting what you're saying, because I definitely have kind of also been in a place where I'm like, this is where my life is going, and you're like, actually, wait a second, be mindful and be careful that you're not writing your own story before it happens, and I think that's a really good point.
It's kind of like in a way, rushing to the end. So that joke I made at the beginning about, where do you want me to start? Because there was a point where I thought my end was with a certain person, or I envisioned my life with a partner that I once had, or, even as a how would I say this, as a younger teen, not like an older teen, not like 19. But, a younger teen, yeah, like not like 13, not like fresh, preteen. You would kind of fall infatuatedly in love with somebody or what you thought it was, and you would envision your future with this person. And sometimes, obviously, you're naive and you don't realize the realities of adulthood and life and the way the world works in a certain way. But you just envision this future with this person. You've literally known each other for like 6 months. Maybe she's the new girl, or you're the new kid at school, whatever it may be. And, it's exciting and it's interesting. And then you start to think about the future, but really far into the future. And there was once upon a time where I actually was envisioning myself as an older person with this individual. And it was only that vision into the future that actually helped me to come to grips with the fact that it wasn't what I wanted today, because I couldn't see that future. So I had both sides of it. I was like, oh my God, I can see myself in the future like this, but also I don't like that future.
Yeah, that's so true. No, I definitely felt that. Like, I mean, I've had so many like long-term relationships that haven't worked out. And I think it gets to the point where you start having issues. And then when you get to that, can I actually, like, in the direction that they're going, like, do I want that life? Do I want to be that person's wife in that situation? It doesn't even have to be marriage in that way, but that person's partner, like, they know where they're going. They know where they want to go. And I'm just like, ugh. Like, it's like, like thinking about it now, thinking like I got the ick. Like, do you know what I mean? I got the ick when I thought about it. And I'm just like, oh, like I actually don't want to be the person's partner in that sense. Like,
Yeah, I could not relate more. My first boyfriend that I dated, I was I had a few other people that I dated before that, but first proper boyfriend. And I was maybe 16 or 17, and he said, as soon as you turn 18, we're going to get married. And I was like, fuck no, that's not happening. That's when I knew I got the ick. And when you get the ick, it's only downhill from there.
Yeah, you can't shake the ick.
You've got to listen to yourself.
Literally. And then, he turned out to be an absolute bastard anyway.
Dodged a bullet. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But
he found himself like a young girl, and then he's married to her now. I think he actually wanted, basically, like, I lost my virginity to this guy, and I think he wanted that. Like, he wanted a girl that lost her virginity to him and belonged to him, but he wanted to sleep with other girls, and he wanted me to be at home and be basically his wife, but he gets to do whatever he wants.
Double standards.
Yeah.
I can't explain how much rage I feel inside me right now.
Me too.
Just listening, like my blood is actually boiling. Yeah.
No, but I'm so glad. No, but you kind of have to go through those experiences to then be like, okay, I found a gem. And because I think, kind of...
Much nice gem.
So, like, Selby's... Well, I don't know. We kind of, like, spoke about the nice guy. You're not the nice guy, but you are just so fucking nice.
Probably the middle, I'd say.
You're the middleman.
I'm the middleman, Balanced.
No, you're
so
assertive.
Nice. What the fuck?
You're assertive, so nice. But you're also the nicest person I know.
Maybe logical. I would say logical.
Oh my God, heavily logical.
Yeah, the most logical person ever. You're like a freaking robot sometimes.
Beep boop.
Beep boop. But basically, like, you never get to appreciate the good relationships if you don't go through the shit ones.
100%.
No, that's so true.
It's learning, isn't it? It's research in a way.
Absolutely.
To learn more about you. And I think that's something that switched in my head. Like, I think growing up in that culture, it was all like, how can I make this other person? I think we probably all felt it. Like, how can I make this other person like me? What can I do to please this other person? Like that dude who obviously he's got a lot of self-work to do on, like, his relationship with women and like purity and shit like that. Like, you've got to stop trying to please other people and actually listen to what you want and be mindful of, like, oh, but how does this affect me? And like, yeah, listen to
Exactly.
the ick if it comes up. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember like the first person that you kind of had like a heartbreak from? I don't know. I guess I'll put that to all of you.
Oh yeah.
But we can
Everyone.
start.
Oh, yeah.
We can
Oh,
start
yeah.
with Beth,
Oh, jeez.
and kind of like also heartbreak, and also how that kind of like changed your perception on
Yeah,
relationships.
let's hear
in a
the
way.
story. What
Yeah.
age were you? What
Give
were
us
you-
all the
What was
juicy
your
details.
hair
All the
like?
goss.
Oh, well, I think I just did that. I think I had so many. Like,
Oh.
I think I fall fast and hard, and I think as a young preteen and then teen, I just fell really hard, really fast for each person. And again, you kind of future bomb yourself, don't you? You fall in love with
No.
people's potential, especially in these
I'm
Christian
the same.
contexts where they're like, oh, it's marriage and it's definite and like it's forever, and like that's
Yeah.
too far ahead for someone that's young, 14, to think about. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I had a lot of them, and then I also. Yeah, there was probably the first time I ever fell in love. It's not necessarily a good experience, but like, yeah, it was this person because I think they weren't giving me like, the chase is quite a big thing for me, and I think he was giving me breadcrumbs. So I think that made me fall harder and faster and deeper than I'd fallen for anyone else. And, you know, he was the class kind of guy that was like, oh no, we can only see each other for 1 week, in sixth year or whatever. But we can like do bits with other people. And I'm like, for goodness sake. So, but I kind of respect myself back in the day as well, because I was like, okay, that's the parameters that you've given me, and I'm like, if that's what you want, I will actually do that. And so I, got with a couple of other people at our leaver stands, and I was like, bye boy,
Bye.
gotta go
Did he get
bye.
annoyed or?
Yeah, he was annoyed because I got with his
Bruh.
best friend, but like,
Oh,
don't tell me,
burn.
don't tell me to
not
do
sure, is
that.
that
That's
okay?
what I
Is
mean.
that
It's
okay?
like, yeah, I never understand that. Like, I had a casual kind of like, it wasn't a relationship at all. It was just like a casual kind of like, we would hang out and have sex. Like, do you know? And I thought he was a really nice guy. We shared like, like good chat and everything. But I just knew, and I thought he knew as well. And then he moved, like, we weren't gonna like work out. And then he moved to London, and I was like, okay, like that's cool. And then I ended up hooking up with someone else that we both knew, but like they weren't like, yeah. And then I got a message being like, I can't believe you did that. And I blah, blah, and like telling me off. And I was like, bro, it's been like 3 weeks. I haven't heard from you in 3 weeks.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I
That's
just
very
thought
fair.
that's it. And then like, I was like, I'm not going to apologize for you getting upset because I live my life to like the way that I want to. Like, what do you think I was like waiting here like
Yeah.
for you? Like, please come back. Why hasn't he messaged me? Like, do you know what I mean? If you don't
Exactly.
message me, or if I don't message you, obviously
Yeah.
Yeah,
the-
you're just
Yeah.
gonna put
But
I
yourself
just-
on ice.
I
for-
was so flabbergasted. I remember like reading the messages and being like the audacity, like of you thinking that I'm sitting here just like on my knees praying for you to like message me,
Yeah,
and I'm just like
exactly.
saving myself for you when you eventually maybe come back, or
Yeah.
like or something like
Yeah.
that. And again, I wish him well, and I hope he has the loveliest life ever. Like, I don't wish anything, but it's just for me, I just thought that was so crazy. Like, I just did not see it coming because I was
No.
like single and living my life. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Expectations.
Yeah.
For me, it's all about expectations. I think, obviously, we actually had a debate about, well, not debate, I think a really fascinating conversation
Great
the other night.
discussion.
A great discussion.
I
Yeah.
absolutely loved your that's why they're here.
That's what I'm here.
Because I was kind of like sitting there
Drinking
and they
wine,
were
having a
just
good time.
yeah, they were like
Absolutely.
bouncing off each other, having like the best conversation. I was like, why are we not recording this right now? So here we are right now.
Yeah, I think the expectations are the biggest challenge, right? And we actually had this relatively similar conversation just before this podcast, and we were talking about choices, and everyone's making choices, everybody's perceiving things, and they're absorbing information, things are happening, and then they're making assumptions about things, and then they expect things as an outcome, and they see potential or potential futures. And in that particular situation, obviously I know nothing about it.
Yeah.
That person thought one thing and you thought another, and they thought, oh, okay, this could go somewhere. And then maybe you, I don't know what they were
That's what I
thinking.
mean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were thinking something, but
Yeah.
not what you were thinking.
No.
And they weren't
That's for sure.
communicating what they were thinking,
And they were not
which is
telling
the
you.
issue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
no way,
there's-
shape, or form did I was I
Jeez,
like,
yeah.
I love
Can't
you.
read minds.
Exactly, you can't read minds, so we have to use this like really poor form of communication called words, and it doesn't sometimes give everything across. Sometimes people say what you think they mean, but it's not actually what they mean, and they don't even know what they mean.
Exactly,
they're just not sure, and it just becomes a mess. So if you don't build that foundation of I can actually talk to this person like they're a person, it's not going to work.
Make your intentions clear, like
exactly.
I'm like that. I remember like just because I was single for the first time in like ever, like in my opinion, like ever in my like adult life, and I just loved myself, and I just said in no way, shape, or form am I ever going to like accommodate to someone else and give away a part of myself to appease their relationship or something like that. So I remember like I wrote down like the things that I would want in my like ideal partner, and I was like, I'm not going to accept anything else but what exactly that I want. And I was like, I don't care. Like I was like, I want to be single for 2.5 years. Like, do you know what I mean? I want that space, that time. I do not want. And I remember saying that to every single person I saw. Like I was like, I would like have this like checklist in my head, and I'm like, oh, they don't mean that, so I give them a month. I was like, and to be honest, great. I was really open. I was like, you know, this isn't gonna work out because of this, but I'm happy to have fun with you and share this experience because I believe in connections with people. I do not think that just because you don't want a deep like a relationship with someone doesn't mean you have to be like celibate or not date or anything. You can just explain like, look, this is the kind of person that I need, and although you don't fit that need, I really believe we can learn from each other. Like there's people that I've seen during my single like days that have like I still think about because they've like, for instance, I know this sounds small, but they've shown me one of my favorite artists, or they've given me a book that changed my life. Like that particular person gave me a book that literally changed my life, like 3 books actually. And these people come into your lives for a reason. And that's what I think is the most important thing to focus on, is that everyone comes into your life for a reason. Maybe it's not the expectation you wanted, but just focus on why they were there and what you learned from it.
What you learned from them, because that's such a good point. Because I think if you came from a background like we came from, you're taught that it's dualistic, so it's everything or it's nothing. And that's not a healthy relationship to have with other people, and it's not a healthy relationship to have with yourself, because otherwise you're waiting constantly for someone to fulfill you, to someone complete you. But actually it sounds like you got to a stage where you're like, I actually complete myself, and I'm gonna spend time cultivating and celebrating this relationship that I have with myself. And then
it was awesome.
It sounds awesome. And that's when, I mean, I honestly, I'm only just kind of getting to that kind of point, and it's great because you can celebrate it, and then you can look back on previous relationships and current relationships, you know, whether it's sexual or not, but you can be like, that person, like, thank you. You can, you don't have to tell them, but
like,
you can,
I'm like, so grateful.
Thank you for, you know, like one of the most toxic boyfriends I had, the good thing that I was like, this is the good thing I'm going to take from this, is that he allowed me and helped me to really love dogs, and now I really love dogs. And I wasn't fussed about dogs before, and now I'm like, this is a lovely thing that I can really love myself, and then I can connect with all my dog mom friends, you know.
Oh, that's nice though. You should always like, obviously like, trauma happens, like trauma is going to happen, but it's your perspective and what you take from it that really makes the biggest impact on what happens during like the fallout. So it's like, obviously embrace what happened to you, accept it, welcome it in, but then say to yourself like, what can I take from this? What did I learn? So that you're not stuck in that kind of like reliving period of what happened, and you can move, you can move forward and then just like, you know, and attract more positive like energy and what you really want. But when I wrote that stuff down, guys,
love it.
My Brodie came and he checked all the boxes, and I remember when I met him and I was basically like, I'm happy if you want to like, you know, hang out with other people and I'll hang out with other people, we can still hang out with each other. And he was like, no.
I'm very happy.
I was like, shit. I was like, I have to make a choice now. I was like, and I really loved being single, but I was like, he's my man. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I know it wasn't in the time frame that I expected and I wanted, but he is my person. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I tried to fight it as much as I could, but like, I just couldn't.
No, you didn't.
I just
you didn't. I
loved it.
remember.
In my head, though, my mental, in my brain, I was like, I want to be single. I want to be with Brodie.
And she was like, Maggie, look at this super cute guy. Look at this
just like creeped on his Instagram so
being like,
much.
he's so
Very much.
handsome. He sings and stuff. And I was like, okay, you fancy him. Like, you probably want to be with him, don't you? So, so it was not you fighting it. It was you crushing big time.
Yeah, he made me do all the work.
I would definitely agree with you. I think it's very, for me, I touch on what you said about Brodie.
Yeah.
I think it was, you have to go through experiences where you realize afterwards that you don't want that experience to know what you want.
Yeah.
So
100%.
I'll give you a completely different non-relationship example, and then I'll give you a relationship one.
Yeah.
So the non-relationship one
Go
is
Selby.
when I oh my god, timer. I've got a timer. Let's do this real quick. 60 seconds. So when I was a kid, I really loved, for some reason, I don't know why, but I loved taking things apart. And
that's cool.
I loved working with mechanical things. I loved working with tools. I loved picking up things and taking things apart, putting them back together. So when I was like 16, 17, I helped a family friend to rebuild a classic car. And I did quite a lot of the labor. So a lot of like taking the bolts off the old chassis, stripping two parts of a car together and putting them together in the fashion that allowed us to build one vehicle. And then finding parts, putting it together. So I always thought I wanted to, to build a car. So I went to university, joined a racing team, didn't do like that much, but, started to learn a bit more about what it took to really build a car as a career. And along the way, I realized it just wasn't for me. I was so in love with the idea that when I finally came to the crux of it, when I saw what it actually took and what it was going to be like, I was like, this is not for me. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not for someone. And other people, I went through something similar to myself and have gone on to do some fantastic things. I've got one friend who, has like a podcast and works with some very interesting car or vehicle personalities, people who've gone and done that as a career. So you can see it works. And I think the same thing applies to relationships, because you start with this idea of this perfect being or this perfect partner. And maybe that perfect partner initially starts out as being somebody that's really attractive, because maybe as a kid or as a younger person, you maybe couldn't be with the person you wanted to be with, and you always thought it was because of how you looked. So maybe you developed this complex or this desire to be with somebody who was really good looking, or was really dressed really fancy, or whatever you want to call it, something very aesthetic. And then you have that aesthetic thing, or you're with a really aesthetic person, you realize they're actually not very nice to you. And then you realize, damn, okay, so what I actually want after that terrible heartbreak is I want somebody who's nice to me, but also takes care of themselves, right? So you start to build this kind of story. And then after the next, let's say the next relationship or the next one, after the experiences kind of compound, you start to realize that actually it's not what you think you want. It's going through the process of trying out the things you want and realizing that they're right or wrong for you.
Exactly.
And it took me all that time and all those stints of being single and exploring. I could say I was a slut as well, but I was experimenting.
You're just kind of like, every relationship you have, you literally learn what you like and what you don't like. And you're like, so the next person, and it's like you begin to attract the things you like and repel the things you don't like.
You can say no.
Because then it's like, as soon as
and
like
you have agency to do so.
Exactly. No, I agree. Well put, Selby.
100%.
Snaps.
And then
Great analogy.
Oh my god, snap. And the conclusion to that is I did not want to have a relationship again. After my last one before Maggie, I was like, this is it, no more.
Really?
I'm done. Like I was so it was distraught because it was just.
And then he met me.
and Maggie and I, when we first met, we didn't kind of go like full madly in love and kind of go, oh my god.
We were both in a slut phase when we met each other.
We were slutting around at the same time.
We were slutting together, so that way it was kind of like we were seeing each other, but we were seeing other people. And just before that, I'd been dating this other guy that literally broke my heart, and that's what changed my perception on relationships completely. So then when I met Selby, I was like, actually, he's handsome. That means he's a dickhead. So I'm just gonna sleep with him for the fun of it. But yeah, and then I ended up falling in love with him.
Exactly
But
the same,
that was
the
not my
opposite.
intention. Genuinely, you were the first person that I wasn't like madly infatuated. I genuinely was like, no, be logical. Don't fall in love with him. Like, and then I
Maybe that's a
literally,
safer way to approach it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
genuinely was like really, really guarded when it came to Selby. And then
I was exactly the same. I said to a lot of my friends at the time, I was like, Maggie's very much a girl version of me, but in the way that I was then, not the way that I was 3 years prior. Because, you know, maybe there was a girl version of me then, but I was crazy and I just wanted to have fun. I was so like fresh and naive. But with Maggie, I think we gradually became closer, and
That's nice.
I realized that we were similar in our values, and we listened to one another. We did all the things that I always thought that I wanted to have. And then it was like it was a natural phase where I think you were in Rome at the time, and then I think you were obviously in love with the city of Rome, and then I think what you said to me was that you wished I was there.
yeah.
Aw.
And then I
and
told
you
him
knew.
I told him that I loved him.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I just got goosebumps. Oh, that's so cute.
And I didn't even
I-
have to think about it. I was like, me too.
I wasn't even scared to tell him though. Like I just was so filled with love being in Rome, and I was like, I wish I could share this experience with the person that I spend every day with. Like we kind of were instantly inseparable.
Yeah.
Like although it was kind of this gradual thing, it wasn't that gradual because we saw each other almost every day.
Or at
And
least
then
once a week.
we literally ended up almost living together after 3 months, and then we're
That's
still
sweet.
here, like
Yeah.
living together. Do you have like a significant Melanie? Do you have a significant moment in a relationship that changed your perception on relationships? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like my first moment for sure was like how you were talking about losing your virginity. Like mine was like that moment because like for me it was really shit. Like
Preach,
yeah, like I just like one day maybe we'll get a story that like someone has like a really good story about losing their virginity, but it's definitely not me.
No.
Yeah, I was
Me
seeing this
neither.
like guy who was maybe like I think he was like either a year or 2 years older than me in high school. I was like 14, 15. I can't really remember the exact age. And I was ready. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I was ready. And I'd been seeing him and I thought he really liked me. And he was kind of like this older kid that was really cool. Like, you know, and he invited me over to his house and I was like finally like, yeah, let's like do it. And basically to get like super into the story, he like put it in and I was like, oh hell no, like this no, that's
Yeah.
sore. Like I don't like this, no
This is
more, no
wrong.
more.
This
Like
is
and I was like, that's enough, that's enough. And like yeah, and then I thought, oh okay, like woohoo, I tried, like you know, and I can't even remember, like we just got dressed because we were obviously young in his parents' house, like you know, doing stuff, and got dressed, and then we just like chilled, and my mom came and picked me up, and I went home, and then it was on, I'm pretty sure it was on a Friday, and he just totally blanked me. Literally, completely blanked me the entire weekend. I was messaging him and I was like, do you know what? And I still remember that kind of moment where I was like, do you know what? Like, fuck you. Like, I said to him, like, in the messages, I was like, I'm not going to message you anymore. This is the last time. If you don't message me, I will not speak to you ever again. And I turned my phone off for the rest of the weekend. Still independent woman.
That's
but
great.
yeah,
That's
and I was
very
like,
impressive.
yeah.
Honestly.
And I got to school on the Monday, just like, you know, to be honest, like I wasn't actually really thinking about him at all. And then one of his friends who was actually, this guy was a bit of a snake. He was a bit of a snake and he was doing it to kind of be horrible to me. And he came up to me and he was like, oh my God. He was like, I can't believe so-and-so did that to you. And I was like, did what? And then I look over and he's with his ex-girlfriend. Like he's literally cuddling the guy, like he's cuddling his ex-girlfriend who was the same age as him. So in my head, I immediately thought, I didn't have sex with him. That's why he didn't want to date me. Like for sure. It definitely was 100%, whatever the fuck he says. And I just literally looked over and I was like, no. And then I just like, my sister was 2 years older than me, and I like, she was at break time with me as well. So I like ran to go and find her. And then I ran into one of her friends. I was like, have you seen my sister? And she was like, no, but you look like you're about to cry. And you know when you're about to cry?
Yeah, and if
Someone
And then
says
someone
that,
says cry, that's
and it just
it.
starts.
I started bawling, crying, and I just like vented to all my sister's friends and all my friends as well. And they were like, fuck him, like karma's gonna get him, blah, blah, blah. Literally, maybe, I think it was only a week. Like, high school is so dramatic, but it was like a week later. It turns out that his girlfriend that he kind of like left me for, in the sense, was only dating him to make her ex-partner jealous. So as soon as as soon as the jealousy worked, she dumped him and then got back with her ex.
That's it.
And then he was left all alone. And I remember we went to like a gig, like it was like this like really like punky gig like in my town, and he was there, I was there, and he came and was just like, well, I'm so really sorry.
Please
tell
tell me you punched him in the face.
Oh, dude, I was just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, fuck you, dude. Like, do you know? But it was that moment that I realized, like, and again, it was quite a pivotal moment for me because it was like my first sexual experience, like really like, you know, fully. And I was just like, do you know what? Like, I'm just like not going to wait for someone or like do that. I'm going to treat like guys the way they've treated me. And I was like, I'm not going to give a fuck. Like, I'm just going to do whatever the fuck I want.
That's amazing, honestly.
Yeah. And I was just like, you know, like, yeah, I'm just gonna do whatever I want and blah, blah, blah. If I want to sleep with someone, I'm gonna sleep with someone. If I'm called a slut, I'll be called a slut. Like, I'm just gonna have fun. I'm gonna be nice to people. And like, do you know, like, I'm just gonna be nice to everyone. I'm not gonna be in a clique or anything like that. I was like friends with like most people. I just like, yeah. So that was my first kind of like heartbreak. I was a wee bit heartbroken, but and then afterwards I was like, fuck that guy. I was like,
no, good on you for not like dwelling on it, because I feel like usually if something like that happens, especially if somebody was cuddling in front of you when you've just done something like that,
what a bastard, just like blanking me as well.
Exactly. And sometimes the biggest heartbreak can come from like the smallest relationships, or you know, it's maybe just the chemistry, or like if it's a significant moment like your virginity, like it can just it just has, you know, it's maybe not as logical as you'd think. You're like, oh, that's a tiny amount of time, but that stuff can last for years.
Like, I'm older, and I remember that moment where I saw him and I was like, no. Like, but it's just crazy because like I do feel like, in a sense, which is kind of a shame, because obviously like you shouldn't treat anyone like crap, but it did in my head at that time at such a young age, like kind of shape like me being like, I'm just not, because every guy treats girls like shit, I'm just gonna treat guys like shit and just be detached. So I felt like it was really hard, where I was seeing like other people who actually really, really liked me and that were my age and stuff like that, and really, really were into me, and I had totally detached myself from emotion in that sense and so I couldn't be with them.
That's like a survival mechanism as well, isn't it, though? Because I've definitely felt that as well. Like you're like, how can I preserve myself in the moment? Because we've all been there, that kind of guttural, kind of hot, painful feeling of disappointment, and like, and I think I've definitely had moments like that as well, where it just makes you, and it's not healthy. I mean, some parts of it, self-preservation is healthy, but it's not healthy when you do want to connect with someone and you can't connect with them. But it's totally survival, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
it really is.
And to be honest, like that just made me think, it's kind of like that cycle. So for example, you know, like you get your feelings hurt, so then you stop giving a fuck, and then you start sleeping with someone, and then because you don't give a fuck, you kind of like hurt their feelings, and then it's like a cycle. So then everybody ends up going through that experience of constantly getting hurt.
That's
I
so
would
true.
I would definitely jump in there and say that I've been the nice guy, and that's why obviously you said I'm not quite the nice guy, but I'm not the bad guy. I'm somewhere in the middle. And I think I went through being the nice guy to being the bad guy to being the nice guy to being the bad guy, and realizing that the nice guy gets treated like shit, and then the bad guy eventually ends up in shit. So you end up in this cycle where until you come to the realization that you need to just treat that other person like a person.
Yeah.
And if they're not treating you like a person, then you need to leave.
Yeah.
So in both ways, whether
Exactly.
it doesn't matter what you identify as a gender or who you are, where you come from. If you treat yourself like shit, someone else is going to treat you like shit.
Exactly.
You're inviting that pain in.
That
That's
energy
so
is
It may
so
not be
present.
easy to do, but it is.
Preach.
Yeah.
And that's so true.
Yeah, you're so right, and it's hard because sometimes if you're not on the same page, like I don't know, like from my background, my kind of cultural background, like I've taught to give all myself and like make sure the other person feels so much better before I thought about myself. So like it's been a lesson recently to be like, okay, that's not actually helpful or nice for me or that other person. It's not helpful if you're seeing someone, like I was dating someone earlier in the year and I wasn't really feeling it, but I was like, oh, I had that feeling, and actually it is like, it's getting to the point where realizing that it's maybe the kinder thing to do to actually break it off, and it's quite hard to get that, and it's how you do that. Ghosting is small dick energy, like.
Bro.
But it happens on both sides.
It does.
I've been calling it ghosting, but there've been girls that I thought I was really into. And I remember as a teenager, there was like one, obviously there were a couple people I was interested in at the time, and then one person who I was so interested in, and she was interested in another guy, or it seemed that she preferred and she would engage with this other type of guy, because I think it's a type of guy who kind of leads you on, builds that kind of chase, doesn't treat you too nicely, says kind of mean things to you to kind of get your attention, so to speak, and you react to that. And I think that happens also with girls to guys, and it kind of happens in both situations. But I felt myself stuck in that loop where I remember being like so excited by this and passionate about this person, and kind of think, having that kind of future thought, that potential that I potentially had in that
falling
person.
For them, potentially.
Falling to them, or falling for the potential of them rather than them.
Yeah.
And watching them constantly say, oh, I want a nice guy. And I'm like, I'm right here. Like, I'm right here. Or girls that, put you in the friend zone because you're too nice. And then you go, well, I don't know where I belong. Like, how do you want me to act?
Yeah, it's so
for
hard.
me to be the guy that you want me to be.
And
then it takes 5-10 years. And I actually had one girl that I literally was head over heels for when I was maybe 16 or 17. I don't know how old I was. Maybe 17. And I remember her messaging me a couple of years later, maybe 4 or 5 years later. And she was like, were you serious about what you said to me? That you really wanted to like, give it a shot. And we chatted loads over Blackberry Messenger, if you remember that. Ooh, back in the day.
Throwback.
And and I kind of was like, I meant it at the time. Obviously, life's moved on and things are different now, but I meant it at the time.
Yeah.
And she was like, she essentially kind of said, I'm sorry.
Damn.
But it takes 4 or 5 years. And even I have felt that way about certain people that I treated.
Totally.
And I think we all make mistakes. We all learn.
Yeah.
But we need to get out that vicious cycle.
Yeah.
100%.
Otherwise, it's never going to change.
How do you ethically end something with someone? You know what I mean? Like, because I've had to, like, it's the more comfortable option for, speaking as women, it's more comfortable for me to just ghost. But I've actually, especially the rule that I've tried to give myself is, if I've met the person, I can't, like, ethically I cannot ghost them. I do have to send at least a message. And it's really hard because you don't deserve that. And as you said, it can cause a cycle. It can really tear down someone's self-esteem. And then, as you said, like, that doesn't just affect the person. That's
you're turning that guy that you just ghosted or treated like he was a piece of shit, right? Or that person, whether it's a guy treating a girl or a girl treating a guy or a person treating a person, and no matter which way you want to look at it, you are causing that future person to behave in a certain way.
It's like
if we all accept responsibility for how we treat others, we may then also be responsible for the good person that they turn out to be.
Exactly.
Because if they turn out to be a bad person because of the actions that we did to them, we are partly responsible for that too.
And here's a question. I personally can never truly be brutally honest in a text if I'm breaking up with someone. I'm never going to be like, this was the issue, unless like they've asked for feedback, which has not happened yet. What do you...
Excuse me.
Can I have some feedback?
Can you fill in my survey? Thank you.
Is that what you do after every relationship?
Yeah, here's my Google Doc.
What did you like and what did you not like?
Don't worry, it's anonymous.
Please give me constructive criticism. Yeah.
That's so funny.
I'm just tracking your email address.
Apparently that's the thing though in the States. People live like in New York. I listened to this podcast, like a dating podcast, and it's like someone like sent them over Bumble a Google Doc of like, just fill out your preferences so I can get to know you better.
Damn.
In a streamlined way. I know.
I'm not sure if I'm mad or impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a
Very
great idea.
specific.
That and a consent form, that might help as well.
You've consented to this? Actually, you signed it. Like,
You signed this form.
It sounds like a Black Mirror episode.
yeah. Oh my god.
Oh wait, what was that TV show that we watched where they basically
Other Life? Is it Other Life?
he already knows what I'm talking about, basically. So
Yeah.
there was a part in this TV show that we were watching, and it was like basically this person who, never mind, it doesn't even matter. So basically, there was this part in the show where both people had to switch on a camera when they were about to have sex, and they both had to consent. So they would be like, I consent, and then they would be like, the other one goes, I consent, and then they proceed.
Whoa.
And obviously the camera records throughout the entire session, and then afterwards they can choose to obviously delete it.
Yeah, so it's like evidence
Yeah.
that,
So that was
that in the
consensual.
moment it was consensual.
That's so intense.
Which is kind of sick that that's the way society is going to have to go.
Is that how you have to teach people?
You
I don't
know.
know. How
Fucking
do you
hell.
protect yourself and the other
shame.
person?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think going back to your point about that vicious cycle, and obviously your point about breaking up people, I don't think it's ever easy.
No.
Because there, in any relationship, I found, unless it comes to a sort of amicable agreement where you realize you've both
Yeah,
fallen out of
that's
love with each
true.
other, which tends to happen maybe like 1 out of 10, maybe 1 out of 20.
Yeah.
I don't think it happens very often. It's hardly ever happened to me, if
No.
not ever.
Yeah.
Me neither.
And we got 4 people in the room here. Probably
It's happened with me, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
What,
Well, like
once?
falling out of love with someone.
Yeah, and we just both agreed that it wasn't working. And then
That's-
we like literally were like, okay, like we were sitting at the table and we were just like, this isn't working. We're not happy. I'm not happy. You're not happy. Let's just end things. Like,
That's
you know?
actually a really good
Yeah.
ending.
Yeah.
That's
so
really healthy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never really had
No,
that.
I wish I
no,
could.
it was pretty good.
Even,
like, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
Oh.
every relationship that I've been in, it's either been like me being hurt or the other person being hurt. And like,
Yeah.
I've got a few ex-partners that I'm still friends with,
Yeah.
which is kind of nice. And like, I catch up with them, but it
That's-
was, but it was when we were like 16. So it's
Yeah,
like,
so
that's
we've
why
had
we're able
space.
to like keep it that
Mhm.
amicable now. But yeah, I probably couldn't name someone that I dated, I would say recently, but it's like
Yeah, it's like
before
5 years.
Selby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Historically.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Even like I'm maybe, I think for my self-preservation, I'm like, I just don't need you in my life, like, or I don't know, like it's just, I think because I keep things, I think as we all do, but I don't know, for some reason I seem to like, I don't think I could be friends with someone that I dated seriously. So even like when it was amicable, it was still painful because I was like, okay, like, I'm sorry, but this is I do love the chop, which is not great.
Yeah, no, I'm like that. I
Yeah.
just like, I remember when I
Boundaries.
had my like amicable breakup, my niece was over. My niece is 2 years younger than me. She's more like a sister. And she was over at the time. And I never cried. Do you know what I mean? Like I never was sad about it because, and she thought it was really weird. She was like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
And I just like, for me, I
What's
was like,
wrong with you, Melanie?
yeah. And again, like, and I just felt like, I don't know, like it was like I can move on now. Like I felt stuck because I was trying so hard to fix something that was never going to be fixed. And then as soon as they agreed with it, I was like, okay, cool. Like I never felt sad. I never had to grieve.
Yeah.
It's not that I didn't love them, but I just never felt like, I felt better actually. And that's when you know, it's like
then
when
you
you
know,
feel
like,
that relief.
You feel liberated.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like,
Closure
this
in a
is
way.
the right.
Yeah, in a way, like I didn't ever need to kind of like look back, where in other relationships that I've like had where I had to like look back and reflect and all of this stuff, I never had to do that because I just felt like it just ended and that was okay. Like they were in my life for that period, that they were really meant to be there and I really, really needed them. But then so it was okay, like that they were not there anymore. Yeah.
Did you feel like the ending was kind of like gradual? So I hear usually like in relationships before they kind of come to an end, people have like a 6-month period where they're feeling
That's
a bit
literally
odd.
what it was. Yeah, 6 months.
And then they're kind of like, oh, well, this is not working out. They're trying over a 6-month period, and then it just doesn't work out.
Yeah, that's
I've heard
literally
this.
what it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
6 months. That's so weird. Yeah. It was like, I'm unhappy. And again, I had been in like really intense, horrible relationships before. So I had said to myself, like, I have to have a time limit. Like, if it doesn't,
so healthy.
yeah. And for me, even now, if it's 3 months of just constant bickering and not getting along and it feels stressful, then I'm like, no, this isn't working. Like, like, so it's like 6 months. Yeah, 6 months for me was even too long. And I just realized that actually they were in my life for that purpose and I needed them. And I'm sure they needed me as well to fulfill whatever it was that they needed. But it was okay to like move on. Like I learned a lot and then I was happy to move on. And so like, so it was really, really good.
I would completely agree. I think there are obviously a lot of things that now I look back on, that were left unsaid, but I don't think that I could have said them in any better way.
Yeah.
Whether I was the person
really
being
profound.
broken up with, or whether I was doing the breaking up.
Yeah.
No matter what you said, it wasn't going to make it better because one person wanted it or wasn't prepared for it or was more in love with the other person or didn't understand it. And I think there comes a time where
or assumed that they're dating you.
Or assumed. I mean, that has happened before.
Maggie?
I've got a story. Obviously,
tell your story.
You know the story. So we're going to call this person Lizzie, just because, just to protect this person's name.
It's because it's their actual name.
Because it's their actual name.
No, it's Pizza Lizzie.
Pizza Lizzie, yes.
Pizza Lizzie.
Pizza Lizzie.
So, all my friends, my friends at the time, they're with me, refer to this person as Pizza Lizzie. And the reason why is because, I've been, dating this person for a little while, and it wasn't really dating. It was just really kind of a fun relationship. It wasn't, we're not agreeing on anything. We'd had the conversation. We weren't going to be serious, none of that. And by chance, I took her to a friend's dinner, and then we went on a kind of a small night out. Obviously, I paid for all the drinks that night, and she was kind of forceful about it. It wasn't like it was one of those things where you're like, oh yeah, I want to buy drinks for us. It was like you buy me drinks. And I was like, this is immediately red flags. But I thought,
not
maybe we're drunk, whatever. These things happen. And maybe it's something, I'll bring up. You want to continue as, you want to start as you intend to continue. You want to keep building something, not, building something that's not going to work. And anyway, the night continues. We go to McDonald's. Again, I pay for the McDonald's. And she was very demanding of the McDonald's. And then we went back towards my flat with our friends.
Give me a fucking cheeseburger, you motherfucker.
At the time, I was kind of
demanding of my McDonald's.
It was quite demanding. And I was like, okay, this is starting to get very weird.
Yeah.
And then we went past a pizza place just near my flat. And she demanded a pizza. And
after a McDonald's?
After a massive McDonald's meal. All of this. And
she was hungry.
I was like, I mean, fair enough, but, buy your own pizza.
Yeah.
Like, we're not even like properly dating. We've not even had that chat.
You said
we're just
that
seeing
boundary.
one another.
You didn't even say thank you.
Yeah, you didn't even say thank you. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things, big red flag. Anyway, I said, she preached that she could get pizza whenever she wanted to. And I was like, okay.
Go on then.
Go on then. So we went upstairs, my friends and I, and just carried on with our night, having a couple of drinks. And then she appeared at the door, or rather rang the bell very angrily, came upstairs, grabbed a drink off the bar, poured herself a drink with this pizza that she'd obviously acquired somehow. And,
got her pizza.
So somebody did. I'm not sure who. Maybe she took up the courage and bought one herself.
So
anyway, and then she just burst out the flat and then left like in an angry rage, which was very confusing. But I think I dodged a bullet there. She ended up calling me later on, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, being like, I don't know where I am, but I'm like, what do you see? I see the meadows. Then you're on the meadows. Basically, just kind of maybe coming to the realization that she left in a huff. And then I made sure I said, listen, if you need me to call a taxi or something, or if you're in trouble, or if you want me to stay on the phone while you walk home, like fair enough. And then the next day, she obviously kind of messaged me, ignoring what had happened the previous night before, and I just knew that was not for me. I am not getting involved with that kind of crazy.
No pizza Lizzie for me.
No
Gotta go
pizza
back.
Lizzie for me. And I think for me that was kind of that happened for me after I'd gone through that whole phase of, you know, serious relationships, and I needed that. I needed to know that I didn't have to say yes because I'd been with someone before who was like that, and I just did not see the signs. All my friends did. Everyone saw the signs, and maybe her friends did too, and we just weren't good together. But we just didn't have the courage or the experience to say this is not working. So that particular example with Pizza Lizzie,
Pizza Lizzie.
that particular example, you know, is just one person wanting a certain thing or being in a certain state of mind, and me going, well, no, and maybe I didn't stand my ground early enough, and if so, that wouldn't have happened, but I didn't. And I let it get to that point, but I knew then that was enough for me. And I think a lot of people get to that point later on in life, and I've seen older people, you know, family, friends, or similar, who've got into that point, and they're like in their 40s or 50s or even 60s sometimes, and they're like, oh, we've been married like 25 years or 30 years. I'm like, but you look terrible.
Right? And you're miserable.
You're miserable.
You actually look like shit. I don't know if you know this.
Whenever your partner,
of life right now.
Exactly, and you look at them, and they don't look at their partners with love and compassion. They look at their partners like this person is a burden on them.
No,
and maybe there was love, and maybe there is love in a certain sense, but it's wrapped in a ball of shit. Like you've just not given it the nurturing that it deserves, and you've not decided that enough is enough, and let them go find somebody who they maybe truly connect with.
Exactly.
So that's what we need to maybe get better at.
We need to normalize seeing that maybe the healthier option is ending things rather than persevering.
Agreed.
100%.
Actually, going back to the whole like religious thing, isn't it that because say you're like in a marriage, a Christian marriage or whatever, it's like you have to make it work. You know? And you don't have the option of divorce, and it's like
so
frowned upon or
toxic.
whatever. And also the thing that Selby just said just reminded me of in older relationships, I feel like it's almost fashionable to hate on your wife. Do you not feel like kind of there's
the
kind
gossip?
of like, there's this toxic sort of like
the punchline is the wife.
It's
Or
weird.
your partner. I mean, why would you do that about anybody? And if so, does that not define you a bit more as a person, that you would use somebody else who's not part of the joke as the joke? I mean, maybe if you're like 12 and you don't know better. But when you're in any situation and you start to make people the punchline of the joke and they're not part of it, or you're not going to tell them about the joke later, that's not fair.
It's just embarrassing people. Like, I've literally dated a guy who, like, for a long time, like, and he would do this every single time he was with his guy friends. And of course, I want them to like me. I want them to be like, you know, I just want them to like me because they're his friends. And he would do this every time. He would like embarrass me on purpose. So like, I don't know, maybe an incident where I said something really stupid or just a bit like, you know, and just kind of reference the whole blonde thing. Like, if anyone ever calls me a dumb blonde, I'm gonna stab you.
You're a dumb blonde.
Fair play.
But like,
we're just gonna cut that part of the episode because Maggie gets stabbed.
He would like do that every single time we're around people. He would purposely try to embarrass me because he thought it was funny, but it would just make me upset and angry with him. So then I started doing the same thing because I was like, fuck you, dude. Like, I'm just gonna remember all the stupid shit that you
belittles
did.
you both.
And then I just ended up hating him.
Because that's so disrespectful, and then it
really
charges
is.
that negative energy. And that's not
I'm
safe.
not the
What do you
butt of your
expect?
joke.
When you fight fire with fire, you just get more fire. You know, it's just not gonna get
burn
better.
that steak.
I know.
Maybe it's like the joys, not the joys, but the benefits of having terrible experiences, or traumatic or tragic, whatever you want to call it, experiences. You come at the other end and you look back and you see in hindsight what other people can't see.
That's it.
You have to go over that hurdle first, and then you realize, what was I thinking? Because what was I hoping to come of this?
Exactly.
When you're in, for example, I gave you this example the other day. Once upon a time when I was younger, you know, especially as a guy, you have this. I wouldn't know how to even put it. It's a thought that a fight like a physical fight between people is cool.
Yeah.
Like when you're really young.
A girl as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Where I'm
you know,
from.
maybe it's where you brought up,
Yeah.
and people kind of, you know, guys where I came from were kind of macho, and like, you know, people go to the gym, and you know, they're like, oh, I'll deck you, you know, I'll make you feel insignificant physically, and you know, there was a point where that changed for me when I was maybe about 17 again. So it was probably a big year for me. You're coming out of the middle teens, right? And you come into the late teens. I just so happened to be at a party, and like I think it was a New Year's party, and I was on the dance floor, and my friend and I had met this guy, and just for the visualizations purposes, he was a really big ginger guy, like maybe 6'4", but like a really nice guy. Like we were just getting on, having a beer on the dance floor. But he was quite a large guy, you know. Yeah. You know, kind of guy you wouldn't pick a fight with. And just by chance, there were the group of maybe 2-3 guys, definitely hitting the gym a lot. As in they were stacked in all directions. You know, I was 17, so that meant a lot to me. So, you know, I was kind of, you know, I would look at that and I recognized that. So, you know, that was something that I wanted to aspire to be, because I was at that age, you know, you really want, you aspire to have your body.
That gym vibe.
That gym vibe, yeah. Everyone's got that, you know, they go to that stage. And just by chance, the gym guys bump into the big ginger guy who we literally just got to know like maybe 10, 20 minutes ago. Yeah. And they bump into him, and immediately it's like the wild animal savannah. You know, and obviously growing up where I did, like I draw this comparison because you see what lions are like when 2 male lions from different tribes or from different groups meet one another. They're inevitably going to fight.
Selby didn't even mention where you actually grew up.
I'll mention
in
that.
Zimbabwe. Keep going.
Hey, go quickly.
Go.
No, just to preface
for context, I grew up in Zambia, but I was born in Zimbabwe, which is right next door to each other. And my entire schooling career was in Southern Africa, and I only came across the UK to do my degree, and then decided to stay. So carrying on with that story, like the African savannah, these 2 people meet on the dance floor, but you know, there's no sexual attraction.
Natural
it's
habitat.
just, you know, this is a relationship, right? So I'm trying to bring it back to here, which is this experience taught me something really magical, which was I just watched these 2 people meet on the dance floor who, unlike myself and my friend, had bumped into this guy and gone, oh, hey, man, you're quite tall. You know, where are you from? You know, kind of that kind of vibe. And then these other guys bump into him and immediately go into fight mode. Really? And the 3 of them just get ready. And you can see it, their body posture. And at the time, I was kind of that age where I was like, oh, this is cool. You know, it was cool. But as soon as it happened, I was like, oh, no. I am a twig in comparison. They will use me to brush their teeth. So my friend was a little bit larger than myself, but we were both like not just outnumbered, but we were just this not going to work out, right? So we knew where we were not in the right place.
We got your back, man. We're gonna leave out the back
we
door.
gotta go. We gotta go. Anyway, so we didn't know what to do. So this is kind of like a, you know, the deer in the headlights kind of scenario where we're like, oh, okay. So we kind of stand there, not expect anything. Some sort of confrontation begins to happen in the sort of pushing region. You know when you see the fight start and the pushing happens, and you know it's going to escalate. And I felt like time slowed down. So in my memory, all this happened maybe in like 15 seconds, but to me it felt like 15 minutes. And the gym guys, there's 3 of them, 2 or 3 of them, because more arrived later, and that's part of the story. So this, you know, ginger guy, he definitely was big, but didn't go to the gym. Anyway, one of the gym guys swing a punch at him, miss, and there you go. Ginger guy just pulls back his hand, knocks the guy, falls down. First gym guy goes down. God. Then the second gym guy runs forward, down as well. Third guy,
ginger guy.
This is the ginger guy making these punches.
That's what I mean.
And he's just looking at us, going, like, what the hell? Like, I didn't know I could do this. So like, this is obviously not practiced. So you've got these 3 guys on the ground, me and my friend standing up with kind of our hands up, like, what just happened? The ginger guy that we just made friends with, kind of looking surprised himself.
Wow, look at me.
And us kind of celebrating, going like, yay, oh my God, like,
You
this,
did it.
you did it, this has happened. And then we were kind of like, okay, what do we do now? Like, just kind of, I guess we wiggle away. And then obviously, people notice this, and, it's a fight. Like, these people on the ground, they're not doing well. This person's girlfriend comes over, one of the gym guys' girlfriends comes over, like, it just starts to escalate. And then all of the friends of the gym guy arrive. And the fight really starts.
No.
Before that was just the intro. And then just punches are flying everywhere. Bigger guys that I didn't know were even around came in. And the ginger guy just kept flying through these punches. He got punched himself a couple of times, but he stood like an oak tree. He was solid. And he just kept knocking these people down. And me and my friend just stood there. And eventually people realized that we were obviously aligned with the ginger guy. And they kind of looked at us like, are you in? Like, are we going to do this? Like, I'm going to hit you.
And you're like, hell no.
We were like, we're just watching. Like, we were just here.
I'm sorry, did you not realize we're bystanders?
Yeah, and
we're just here for the entertainment.
Anyway, so we didn't get involved, which I think was probably the best thing we could have done. And then obviously the police arrived. So immediately, obviously the ginger guy disappeared, but lots of other people got in trouble, even though they started the fight. But they didn't end it. The ginger guy did. So I then, from that situation, 17, going on 18, immediately realized there's no winners in that fight. No. Maybe it seems like the ginger guy did, but he probably ended up in jail that night. And we literally were in the wrong place at the wrong time, or the right place, whatever you want to call it. And we just stood away, just by sheer shock, that saved us going to jail and probably losing all of our teeth. Yeah. So that completely changed my perspective. That experience completely changed my perspective.
Fights are cool. Actually, they're not.
They're not. They're pretty terrible.
You can kill people. You can kill someone with one punch.
And
one knockout.
Gets hurt one way or
one fall to the ground. It only takes 30 pounds of pressure to break your neck. Yeah. As an adult.
There we go. So
that's not a lot.
if you were thinking that what you're about to do is not going to benefit the other person, don't do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Just don't do it.
Exactly. It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
No, it was like that for me in high school. Like, it was like, that's what you did at a party. Like, it was like, you would go to the party and there was always a fight. It wasn't a good party unless there was a fight. Like, do you know what I mean? If you had beef with someone, I know. Like, that's what I mean. And this was not when I lived in New Orleans. This is when I lived in Mississippi. And I felt like it was such a change in culture. Like, I got more of a culture shock moving to Mississippi than I did from moving here. Because I felt like I was still a kid when I lived in New Orleans. And then I moved to this small town in Mississippi. And I felt like everything was different. Everyone was pressuring me to do these things. Like, I was the last one of my friend group to have a boyfriend, to kiss someone, to, you know what I mean? Like, have sex, like stuff like that. And I found it really difficult because I was like, I don't actually want to do these things, but I want to, like, keep up with my friends. Like, and they're all my age. So it's like, do I not have to do these things? Yeah.
And it's so hard not to feel that.
Yeah. Like it's super, like, peer pressure is real, guys. Like, like even, and then the whole idea, the aspect of like fighting, like it was a really big deal where I was from. Like, if you didn't fight the person. And again, I moved school. So at one school, it wasn't really like that. And then I moved to a different school across town, and it was more so like that. Like, if you didn't fight a person that didn't like you, you would get bullied. And even if you fought them and lost, you would have more respect towards you than you would for not fighting at all. So it was kind of like that moment. It was like, if my friends were going to fight, like, we would meet up with a girl, like, and their girlfriends, and we would meet up at a specific location so that these two girls could fight. No one would jump in. We would just watch them fight. Like, it would be like they had an issue with each other and we were going to let them hash it out. Luckily, I didn't have to meet up with anyone and do that.
God, actually.
But I've been in physical altercations, both with men and with women, and and it's just crazy to think, like, I know that I have that within me to be able to defend myself, which is quite, in a sense, like, I guess, like, nice to know that I can do that. But it's also kind of sad to think that there was a huge period of my life that I was like, this is okay, do this thing, like, this is normal, because it's not. Like, it's just like, it's so like, Yeah, like that's what I mean.
It's primitive.
And yeah, very primitive. And it was kind of like, it's just like, yeah, it's a really weird concept, especially like when you have a parent that kind of like brags about fights as well. Like, you know, I know people who do that now who will brag about like fights they've been in and stuff like that. And I'm just like, is that cool? Like, you know how you said like,
parents.
is that yeah, 100%.
Or at
like
least family
oh
friends.
yeah, like parents 100%. Like I specifically know parents who do that with their kids. And yeah, and I've been influenced by older people as well who would brag about like, you know, getting in fights as well. So in my head I was like, it is cool. Like fights are cool. Like, you know, and then
you think it's just okay. And then when you start to see people who are adversely affected by that fight, and you realize that the person you know is responsible for that person, you know, losing teeth or, you know, having a completely disfigured face, or for example, there was a fight that I heard of when somebody actually died.
It happens so often,
and it actually happens more often than you think. And all it takes is one misplaced punch. And when I started to kind of get to grips with that completely changed me. So I knew then that
the consequences.
I knew the consequences of my actions. Even though I maybe was never in a fight in that way where I ever really wanted to. It was always kind of forced upon me, or my friends who were, you know, having trouble, and you were just trying to get in the way to kind of stop things. I did get, you know, hit in the face a couple of times, but not by choice, obviously. It, you know, hit me. Besides, when I did boxing, that was a little bit different. That's when you start to learn that you actually can get hit in the face, but it's in a controlled manner.
And you gain your power as well, don't you?
You do. You start to realize that it's actually okay, but it's not something that you want to get involved with.
With me, we didn't really do physical, but I think verbally, especially with young women, it's just such a huge thing. Like, and that was my virginity story, to be honest, is basically I slept with, someone had, where I lived, it was on the coast, and someone had like private land, which included a beach. So we had a big beach party, and then everyone was camping, and it was lovely. And I ended up sleeping for the first time with a guy that was like, kind of seen as one of the hot, funny guys at school. But the kind of, the fighting was verbal, and like the abuse was verbal instead of physical, and people get vicious, don't they? Especially kind of like you were talking about that guy, like when you've touched a nerve, they just snap. And so I felt the wrath of someone who I basically slept with their ex once. Obviously it was shit because it was the first time, you know. And yet that wrath, like that verbal, and everyone like divisive, you know, as you talked about, like splitting into packs, like everyone's very divisive, and then that just can shadow like the whole, you know, a long time. And then you carry that stuff, and you carry that awareness, as you were talking about, you know, that the kind of shock from that, you can take that into things, and you feel like you can't be your true self if you're like, you know, like scared, what's going to be the consequences of this, you know what I mean? But when everyone's trying to explore self-expression and stuff like that, so that was my experience of that. And it's just so petty, isn't it? But it's very primal, and I think it's an interesting reflection as well of people's development, you know, like that people go, I think in the late teens as well, you go through that development stage where you are, there's just so much happening in terms of hormones, and then physically as well, you're just like, it's a lot.
It is like super crazy as well, because like your parents have such an influence on like how you are verbally as well. Because like for instance, like my mom would always be like, she would basically like premeditate like what we could say if someone was mean to us. And in a sense, like it kind of in a way encourage bullying, like in that sense. Like I wasn't like a bully in school, but if there was someone that like specifically, I remember because me and my sister were in high school together, and we were just like we did hang out like quite a lot. And so like if there was someone that we didn't like, we would make sure that they would know, like, you know, like, which sounds so horrible. And I do feel bad about it now, because obviously I'm older and I have a more perspective and like more empathy for like children at such a young age in high school. But like if when specifically someone did something to me or like a girl did something to me, like we would like target her and be like, you're a fucking bitch. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And just be like, no, and like, don't speak to us. Do not speak about us. Like, do you know what I mean? And now looking back at it, I'm just like, God, like, what the fuck was wrong with me? But again, it is your parents. Like, you know, my mom would like, you know, be like she was in, like, her parenting style was aggressive. Like, you know, like even whenever she approached teachers and stuff, like my sister had a door slammed, like, you know, had a door slammed in her face by a teacher that was really horrible. And my mom went to the school. She knew that this teacher like taught this before school club, like this before school detention thing. And so my mom went there at like 7 a.m. when she knew that teacher was teaching that class, showed up outside of her door, knocked on the door, teacher opened the door, and she was like, now you're gonna slam that door in my face. And like, do you know what I mean? And scared the shit out of her. So like that
just scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, that's how my mom speaks. I was like, and that's how in my head, that's how you got stuff done. It was like through fear and through like, you know, showing your power and like showing that like, do not fuck with me kind of attitude, when actually it's like, it just really it's just a shitty way to live.
And it's misdirected, because it's not a bad thing to communicate what you need to say. You know, it's not a bad thing to be like, you hurt me, but as you said, like, it's maybe not the best way to go about it in a kind of fear-based way. But like, I think that's the tension, isn't it? How do you communicate enough but not too much, and
how do you not come across as weak or submissive? Because in that particular scenario, it's like a bullying style arena where I was bullied a lot as a child, maybe for a variety of reasons. And one of them was when I was maybe 11, 12, I was a little bit chubby. Maybe 10, 11. And I was quite chubby. And obviously then I went through a growth spurt and I became really tall. And then I went really skinny. Anyway, so I was bullied and I went to boarding school. So there wasn't really much I could really do about it. I couldn't escape. So I was there. I was a weekend boarder, which meant I went kind of home on the weekend. And you're at that point in your life where you don't really, even if you tell your parents, what are they going to do about it, right? They're going to tell the school matron, or they're going to tell the head of the house, or whatever you want to call it. What's that going to do? Because that happened, and that just made my bullying worse. So what ended up, resolving the situation was a family friend contacted a family friend who had a son who was older than us, and he stood up for me. And him standing up for me changed everything for me, because I knew that I could stand up for myself then. Obviously I was younger and I wasn't as strong, so when I went to boarding school, most of the bullying was physical. There was some mental abuse, there was some word play, and some people could get over the physical bullying by using their words, as in could prevent the bully by making them look silly in front of their friends. So there was some sort of defense that you could have, but the physical defense didn't always work, especially if you were smaller. So it literally has taken me many years to get to the point where I'm big enough now to be able to do that. And then it really took me learning how to play rugby and learning how to tackle and learning how to use my body and my body's force to be able to take down people bigger than me, to build that confidence. And even beyond that, learning to box or learning martial arts. Or, I do a lot of Aikido now, which is not about hurting the person, it's about putting them in a position where they can't hurt themselves. And I think that's the challenge. Building that environment where people don't have to feel bullied, don't have to use physical violence to overcome a situation, but also feel safe enough to say to their bully, if the bully is receptive to them, that I don't like this. But you have to build that environment.
It's really hard to do, to articulate.
Explain what dating etiquette is, and also can we just talk about some of the apps that you've been on, and just because obviously Selby and I actually met on Tinder. So we met on a dating app, but that was 5 years ago. So I'm just wondering, what is it like now? What apps do you use? What do you mean by dating etiquette, etc.?
And I think it's really important, as you said, to honor and celebrate the successes like you guys, you know, from dating app. My sister also met her fiance on Tinder.
So did my sister, her husband now, yeah.
That's amazing. And so these things do work. And I think there's still slight shame culture on like some people, especially who've maybe been in longer or had meet cutes rather than like having to go on apps. Like sometimes they're like, oh, why would you? But it is quite normal now, isn't it? Yeah.
It's the modern world.
Exactly. So at the moment I am on mostly Hinge and Bumble in Edinburgh because that's the kind of,
If you want to find Beth.
yeah, like hook me up.
Hinge and Bumble.
Yeah.
This is my user profile.
Because I also used to like, a guy that I was in love with in 2014 downloaded Tinder for me firstly as a joke, and that was my first experience of a dating app. That was in Toronto, and that was quite interesting. And I think I really enjoyed Tinder. Now Tinder for me, the interface is just not as sleek, I would say, as some of the other ones. Like I think Bumble and Hinge are quite sleek like that, and they've just got a wee bit more initiatives. And still, like, I think there's still a nice nuance where if you're looking for something more casual, you can be quite obvious, and that's what you're looking for. And again, back to intentions, like I think that's really important to be like, that's okay, and that's not a bad thing because we all go through, like, that's what our capacity at that point. So yeah, it's quite nice for that. Whereas what I think sometimes Tinder now lacks is that opportunity to maybe grow something deeper, which the other apps kind of can facilitate. So yeah, dating etiquette. That whole thing. I think there's
that whole thing.
I think me and Selby were chatting about, because I think there's things that if you're maybe not in the game, because I think sometimes it is a wee bit of a game, and you do have to, you not harden yourself, but you become resilient to, like, it's a wee bit of rejection. A graft, and it's rejection, and
Constantly.
There's constant rejection, and also like. Yeah, constantly. It's almost like a networking event where you're like constantly trying to initiate conversation.
It's exhausting, the messaging.
That's your intention.
Exactly, and it is like dating for me. And something that Tinks, who's quite big on Instagram, she's good to follow if you're looking for like good life advice. And she says, you know, dating is like flirting with potential. So you're looking at someone's profile, and you are kind of debating whether the potential that you see there would fit for if you're looking for a future, or even if you're looking for a good time. Like you're trying to fit that with what you want, that list that you might have. And so what was the one that we were talking about, the dating etiquette?
Guys inviting you over for dinner with the expectation of sex. So like we basically had we were having wine last week, and we were just having this discussion, and that's why I was like, come here. But I was basically very naive to think that if a guy invites you over for dinner, I had no idea that meant sex immediately. Like, I thought that means he's invited you over for dinner to eat food.
I think the key word there is dinner. When you invite someone over for dinner, as I learned the hard way.
Over to your house.
Over to your house is different to dinner. Dinner is we're going to have food together, and that's cute. And I realized that I was leading a lot of people on once upon a time by inviting them for dinner, which my flatmates informed me many times. And then I realized that they were right after like the third time. That I was leading people on. And sometimes, it didn't lead to anything. It was just dinner, but I quite liked making dinner.
It's not a bad thing in itself.
And I was being the nice guy, and then kind of realized, oh my God, actually I'm being a dick by doing the nice thing. And then there's the other side of your question or your statement, which is bringing somebody over, inviting them over. If you be invited
to
over
hang out,
to Netflix and chill, right? That means Netflix and chill. That's not Netflix. That's Netflix and chilling.
So like I know that Netflix and chill means sex, and also there was this one guy that said to me, Amazon Prime and quality time.
Oh wow, that's a new one.
That's good. I
like that. So it was fun. Funnily enough, it was actually this guy I was dating at the same time I was dating Selby, and then like.
You gotta have your roster.
Yeah, no, but he genuinely, I think, was really trying to fuck me, and I didn't realize. For real, I had no idea.
I don't like Amazon Prime.
I do not subscribe to that.
Yeah, but the thing is like when Brodie, like, okay, so me and Brodie met one time, and then we didn't see each other for months, and I basically couldn't stop thinking about him. So I found him on Instagram, was like basically like chat. So we chatted for a month. And then finally, we were in the same country at the same time. And he was like, come over to my house. And I was like, oh, come over to your house. I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to have sex. And
It's happening.
yeah. And so I come over and there's a huge group of people like, over with his friends. And I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, like, you know, okay, there's people here, I'm sociable, blah, blah, blah. And then we all sit together, build a fort, and watch a movie together. I don't know any of these people. And like, and he sits next to me, but he makes sure there's like this huge distance. He's such a good guy.
He's a nice guy.
Like there's a huge distance. And I'm like
So
cuddling
respectful.
with his girlfriend, like, you know, like not his girlfriend, but one of his girlfriends. And I'm like cuddling with her, like, you know, just like getting really cozy. Like she was really lovely. And then like he literally won't even let his knee knock towards me. And I'm just like, what's going on? Like you invited me over and then he won't touch me.
You're
And
like,
then when
are
we
you
said,
Christian? Like, what's going on?
when we said bye, he literally, usually you linger in a cuddle when you like someone. He was like, bye, and like that. And I was like,
Yeah, like,
okay,
qu'est-ce que c'est?
yeah, bye.
No, Mel was like, Maggie, I think he's gay.
We're just fine.
Literally, she came over and
It's
she
so
was
hard
like,
to tell.
doesn't he
I
like
fancy
me?
him, but I think he's gay.
Because I was like, why else would he message me so much and we would have all this conversation? But he must either just.
And I was like, no, I don't think he is. You know.
It's so funny thinking back now. He was just nervous.
I think
And
dating
again, he
etiquette
was
is so
really
different from
naive
people.
to the whole, I'm going to invite her over
Yeah.
to my house.
Yeah.
But, and then literally the next 3 dates, like I think 3 or 4 dates, he would never meet up with me by himself. He would always have like a posse of friends because he was nervous.
Yeah, he
Bless.
must
My
have
little
felt
baby.
safe being like with
Yeah.
someone.
And then I got him. I was like,
But imagine if it
no.
was the other way around. If you were like, if he invited you over to have sex and you just brought me over with you.
yeah, like a posse of girls.
Yeah.
Chaperone.
Like I brought my friends
Yeah.
on our
That's
date.
happened before.
Yeah, which is totally fine. You can do that, by
I
the
brought
way.
Maggie and my backpack. That's okay.
My backpack.
My backpack.
But it's so hard to know. Like, I genuinely.
Fuck you, Melanie.
Oh, bless. I mean, that gives me hope, though. I'm like, there are decent.
There's
I'm
Dude.
just laughing
guys.
because she always makes fun of me for saying backpack.
She goes
Backpack.
backpack, and I'm like, perk, perk.
It's just, it's very Jennifer Coolidge. What a legend. But I also fell for that because you think it's nice. Like, you're just like, oh, you're making, and it, as you said, like, you can enjoy making someone dinner. That is very nice. But I have definitely fallen into that trap twice this year with two different Ryans.
So
So-
you
Right.
I don't even forgot their name for a second.
I have 7 different Jacks.
Yeah.
So you came over to his house.
Yeah.
And
For the first one, which we'll call Psycho Ryan,
yeah.
for things that we can discuss after this. Yeah, he was like, do you want to, for back to World Cup times. Was it World Cup? No, it was European. What was the football that was on?
I don't.
Something.
None of us
I
watch
don't know.
football.
Something.
So.
The football that was on summer
That
2021.
thing.
Yeah. And
FIFA.
No, that's a
Cup?
game. I think FIFA
I
sponsored.
think it was the Euros. I think it was the Euros.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
it's not the World Cup. But yeah, he was like, yeah, do you want to come? Because I was also like, again, I will never do this. I will never pretend to be someone that I'm not to impress a guy.
Yeah.
And I was still in that phase that I was like, oh, he seems to like football, so I'll kind of like pretend.
Yeah,
And he was like, yeah, do you want to come watch the match at mine? And I was like, oh yeah,
Sure.
sounds great. And he was like, oh, I'll make us dinner. I was like, oh, fabulous. So like go over, and then it was like a pizza, which is fine, nice. But and then
Homemade or just like put in the oven?
nah, just in the oven.
Not
mate.
Domino's or
fuck
something.
you.
Yeah,
I
and
was
that,
keen to watch
so
the football.
the
I'd be like,
tone,
Not even
yeah.
takeaway.
Yeah.
I'd be like, bro,
pizza.
you're bland. I'm not sleeping with you.
Yeah, and also like he didn't drink, so like it was a very sober affair, which is fine. But then you are really aware of everything that's happening. I know.
Can't even dissociate.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I'm like exactly. I'm like, fuck. Where's my coping mechanism?
Can't even cope with this.
My PTSD coping mechanisms. That I'm like, oh Jesus.
Was it at least a good match?
Oh yeah, I mean it was okay. He, bless him, to quote him, his words, "Oh, I am 30 now, so that's why I can't do any more." And I was like, I've been with, Like, I've slept with 35-year-olds that have more stamina than that. Just saying, like, it was good-ish, I think. But I'm like,
I think
that's what I realised now.
Ish, then it
Yeah, and I think he was being lazy because it was very, I think that's the sad thing. Like, we've all probably been with partners who they're getting what they want out of a situation, and they're like, bye. And that was it was very
selfish lovers are the worst. It's like, you have so much potential.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, just please
100%.
me as well.
Yeah.
Like, I actually had a conversation with someone that I was seeing, and it was an open relationship. And I was like, I can't see you anymore. And I was like, you're fucking selfish. Like, you literally only think about you the entire time you're inside me. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
it just doesn't work. Like, I know this must be fun for you and it might feel like a good time, but like, I'm actually not like enjoying myself. Like, you know, it's just watching you have a good time. Wow, that's fun. Like, that's not how it works.
Maybe we should be better at like saying that to one another.
Yeah. Oh, I
Like,
said it. I was like,
but you have to say it the right way.
Yeah.
If you say you're absolutely shit, they're gonna be like, oh, that's horrible.
and these are the reasons why. I've written them down.
Yeah, I've got a list, my ick list for you.
Yeah. But also,
My
have
list.
you guys ever
It's a great
slept
list.
with someone and it not be the best, but you can see the potential because they're obviously not experienced? That's a good question. Because I've slept with people that it's been like, okay, but I'm like, you just haven't been with
an
enough people
investment.
who have been like freaky deaky.
Yeah,
And I'm just
you've gotta
like, you have
explore.
potential.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Does that sound weird? I feel like it sounds a bit creepy.
No, not really.
It just made me like pick my brain for a bit, and
Yeah.
oh no, wait, let me pick more. I don't know.
I would say yes, but
Yeah.
you know, it's an investment.
yeah.
Sometimes
People
you
are worth
unlock
it.
an absolute demon, and then you're like, this I
Maybe.
was not expecting this.
Definitely not me.
expecting this. Or like, you know, you open a door that you did not know was there for the other person. For you, you're like, oh, this is interesting, and then you're like, oh, this is very interesting. Actually, I don't like this anymore. Whereas the other person just keeps going on that trajectory.
Yeah.
But the other time, it's like, oh, this is an investment, and it's not paying off.
Yeah.
So, but it comes back to intentions, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So
This is a failed investment.
Exactly.
Next.
I think, you know, that's the big thing for me with dating etiquette is
Yeah.
we're all trying to figure out really, really quickly, is this going to work?
Yeah.
And I think I went through a stage, and my flatmates at the time can definitely attest to it, where I was like just going on dates as many as I could.
Aw.
And a lot of them, like, there was just no physical connection. There was no mental connection. And there were some dates where you could see the other person, especially one that I had in mind, where we went to a really nice cocktail bar, and she's really nice online. And then I met her in person. She was not the person she was online.
We went to a cocktail bar.
You brought
That was
many girls to a
after
cocktail
being-
bar.
yeah, exactly. You
slut.
You slut. Slut. Yes, I was. Thank you very much. And yeah, she wasn't who she said she was.
She wasn't. You got catfish.
I got pretty much catfished.
I've been there
more than once.
recently.
More
I've
than
been
once.
there
I did not
recently.
expect
More than once. And
Oh no.
you know, first of all, that was challenging. But I was like, oh, I'm gonna give it a shot. Like, you know, maybe she didn't look exactly the way she looked online, but that's fine. You know, let's give this a shot. Let's see what happens. And just was not the same person in the real world. It was dry.
That's so
and
disappointing.
And at the end of the date, she was like, "Oh, do you want to see me again?" I was like, "Oh, you know, we'll see how it goes."
Also a bold move to ask. Like,
I mean, if she could not tell that date was dry as hell, then we were definitely on the same page.
No, yeah, I asked Selby once. I was like, "What's the worst Tinder date you've been on?" Because I've actually never had a really bad date. Like, all of the dates I've been on.
I'm
And
glad
even if-
for you.
Yeah, even though like maybe it didn't go somewhere, like it still was a nice enough date, and then we just like maybe didn't decide, like, I don't know, whatever. But then I asked Selby, and he was like saying that he took this one girl out, and then she literally just like he was trying to pull out words from her.
Drawing blood from a stone.
Yeah,
Pulling
that's
teeth.
it, drawing blood from a stone.
Pulling teeth, yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, and
Did you
then-
have to pay for the meal?
Yeah.
Fuck off. She was just getting
I mean,
free food out of you.
I'll put it up here. I think I must have spent most of the money that I earned in university on girls.
Oh, Selby.
I mean,
That's not necessarily fair either.
It's not fair,
Yeah,
but
no, I
it is
always
demanded
split.
of
Yeah.
maybe the male sex a lot more.
No, split the bill.
I had a...
No,
Split
I
the bill, I
split. We
agree.
split. Well, actually, 'cause when we went on our date,
Maggie
you
treats me.
Yeah, like wait, I
Maggie
paid.
treats me.
You paid for the first like few rounds, and then we did like we basically went to this really nice cocktail bar, got like a bunch of cocktails, and then the bill was massive, and I was like, let's split it. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
That was a big tick for me. That was on my list. A
Aw.
person who was independent, who treated me as their equal.
Yeah.
I did not like being
Yeah.
treated as the bank
No.
because I was
Ew.
not the bank.
No, it's proportionate
Yeah.
to income, isn't it, as well, sometimes?
And
I think
it's
it's
a
nice
choice.
enough-
It's a decision you have
Yeah.
to make together as a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice enough to like treat someone and be like, I'm
Yeah.
a gentleman, I'll get you
Yeah.
a drink. But then I
And then
think,
you can be treated as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I would love to be
equally,
treated.
it's nice to treat
Yeah.
someone back, eh?
That's one of the, it's such a shame. Like, I had one of the worst dates I've had recently was a guy who'd, bless him, he's obviously been hurt before in that kind of sense, but he just went off on how this woman, like, split the bill and then later messaged him and was like, oh, we shouldn't have split it, like, you should have paid for me. And I'm like, and I was like, mate, in that sense, that's not fair, because she's obviously not
Fair.
articulating herself in the moment. And then I tried to bring in the nuance, and I was like, you work for a very nice company and you earn like a lot more than I do as a student who works like in healthcare. Like, it's not the same. And I was like, so I am very willing to split, but if you are going to choose somewhere fancy in Stockbridge, then you might want to consider
Yeah.
paying
Yeah.
slightly
The bill's
more.
like £100,
You
yeah.
literally have just brought this memory out of my brain, and this relationship,
I hear people say situationship.
this situationship
Yes.
I like
ended
that word.
so badly for me,
Oh.
in the sense that like it was to the point where like I almost had to phone the police kind of thing. But in the
hell?
beginning, it wasn't in that way. Like, this guy lived 3 hours away from me, and I was like, again, I was not single, like me, like I co-parent with my, like, you know, my kids' dads and stuff like that. But I was a single mom. Like, you know, I was single and I had the kids full time, you know, and I was working. I was just a yoga teacher. And like, I didn't have like I didn't have much money. Like, do you know what I mean? And this guy wanted me to pay for his hotel to come to Edinburgh to see me when I had driven 3 hours to see him and never asked for gas. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And he
that's
expected me
horrific.
to split the hotel, and I was like, and I wasn't into him that much. I was like, he was way older than me as well, and he also like, yeah, and he had like a fucking job, like a career, and was
Yeah.
like very successful, like
Yeah,
not
that's-
successful, but yeah,
yeah.
I don't know what his
Stable.
financial,
Yeah,
stable.
stable.
And I was just like, no, like
Why
knowing
would
that
you
I
pay
had
for his
2
hotel?
other dependents on me.
Yeah,
He had
exactly.
no one. Again, he's older, had a job and a career and all of this, and had the time to take out of his, like, you know, schedule to come and down and see me. And I was just like, fuck off. Like,
Yeah,
don't see me
no.
then. I'm like, do you really think you're the only person I'm seeing? Like, do you
I think dating is
which
kinda
he
like
knew as
shopping.
well. Like,
Yeah.
Don't lie to yourself.
Here's
I
another
know.
analogy.
yeah.
Well, that's, yeah.
It's
Like,
kind of like shopping.
literally.
I
It's-
say bye boy to that person.
Bye boy, yeah.
Yeah, like
You're
what
like,
the
okay.
fuck? Like, but that's what I mean is like
Yeah.
obviously splitting in the situation. But if you're honest and you know someone's financial situation and
Yeah.
know that you are better off,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it
It's an
is
act of
nice.
kindness
Like,
to be
even if
like,
you are a
"Look."
female or a male, whatever,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it is nice
Exactly.
to step in and be like, I can help you. Like, do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
I'll show you that I like you. Like, that's what my sister
Yeah.
does with her fiance. Like, they've got different financial situations, but she's like, this one's on me because I'm showing you. And that's why, you know, sometimes it's like, it's nice
nice.
to be treated.
yeah,
What were you
Yeah.
going to say, Selby?
Oh no, I was just gonna say I feel like it's a bit like shopping.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, initially it's about shopping because the first date or two with somebody, you have no clue who this person is. I mean, you've
Yeah.
met them online, like what we maybe chatted for, you know, a couple of days. And then big tip for everybody who's online, find somebody's Facebook or other platform because they are not who they say they are. You know, at least for me, 50% of the time.
Maggie?
Selby, right? So we matched
I
on
have
Tinder,
input for this as
and
well.
then
Are
Selby
you who you say?
Selby fucking added me on Facebook, and I was like, psycho.
Yeah, that is.
I was like,
that's
immediately-
bold, man. That's
immediately-
bold.
I
I
was
need to
like-
know that you're real.
It was so
I've had
bloody
someone do that
direct. I was
before.
like, you're a fucking freak. Why are you adding me on Facebook? We haven't even met yet,
Because
you
you
weirdo.
don't seem real on Tinder.
Yeah, he thought that I didn't seem
You were too
real.
good to be true, honestly.
Aw.
Yeah, you're an absolute babe.
No, I mean,
But,
you know,
yeah.
it sounds that way, but
But it is
That
like
was on my
shopping.
chins. He was like,
From a female
That's
to a
too many
male.
chins for a real woman.
I have a thing that I've found recently with guys on Tinder. What is with all the sunglasses? Like what on the date?
they're hiding something.
Because their
Yeah,
eyes are
on
too
the
small
date.
for their
Yeah, no, on the
face.
dating app.
That's horrible.
Yeah, no, but it's like that's what I said. I'm into the third Ryan. We'll
Third
call it
Ryan.
third Ryan, young Ryan. I told him, I was like,
Young
mate,
Ryan.
you had one photo without sunglasses, mate. Like, you've got a very nice face. Like, why do you have to have all these sunglasses photos? And then also, here's another question.
did he give you an answer though?
He was like, yeah, I've had that feedback before. And I was like, well,
Then
do
you-
something about it.
I've had that feedback.
Before. And I was like,
How many
maybe
dates
I'm
have you
too
been on?
I'm maybe too blunt. Yeah, I know. Well, exactly.
No, I think you have
Ryan.
to.
Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan.
And then sometimes, like, I would never put a photo up that's more than a year old onto my profile. But then
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
guys have photos that I'm like,
From like 30 years ago.
yeah,
Like,
literally. And then you meet them
2013.
and you're like, you're like the guy that was very anti, like, paying for women. He literally had a photo from 10 years ago. And I was like, mate, like, that's not fair on you or me. Because then you get, that's a
Yeah, it's an
catfish vibe.
expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
exactly.
a catfish vibe. That's
Yeah.
like
I
you're
found
80
that-
years old saying you're 30. That's not okay.
Oh my god, I've been catfished before, but I feel like...
Tell us.
Here it comes.
Here we
Do
go.
we actually want to hear this one?
Yes,
no,
come
it's
on.
quite a long one. And
Get
I
on
don't-
then. This is a storytelling podcast.
I know,
Did
but
you
it's
know?
just such a long-winded story, and I don't even...
Can
yeah.
you skip over the
Can you
horrible
give us the
bits?
highlights?
Okay, I'll do it a long story. So basically, I met this guy online, and then, but it wasn't like a proper catfish. The way it's like, oh, it wasn't the pictures. It was
He
basically
catfished you.
he lied about everything that he said. As
Okay.
in, he was the person that was in the pictures, but he lied about his entire persona and who he was and like what he did and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And basically, long story short, he there was just a bunch of red flags. I might get into this in like another podcast episode, but basically there was a bunch of red flags, and I broke up with him, and he had been logged in on my he logged in his Facebook on my iPad, and I was like, fuck it, like I don't give a shit about him. I'm gonna read through his messages.
As you would do. I would do
Yeah,
the
because
same
I was
thing.
like, I genuinely I have no respect anymore for him, so I'm just gonna do it. And then basically, and then all of his messages revealed that everything he said to me was a lie. And I was like, what the fuck? So literally, I organized a phone call with him, and I told him that he was a psychopath and that he needed help. And he was like, wow, you uncovered and discovered me. Like,
Wow.
it was so disgusting. I was like,
Yeah.
Said the psychopath.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
was like, okay, so I've discovered this, and like, what are you gonna do with it? And he, like, do you know what I
Just
mean?
gonna
And it
continue.
was-
I've discovered that you're a liar. Like, what the fuck, you lunatic? You
Yeah.
caught me? Like,
yeah, and then basically, I just decided to block him because I was like, I'm not gonna gain anything from this, and then recently I was going through my requested messages, and I found that he had made multiple fake profiles and messaged me
God.
like being like, please take him back, like pretending that he was like this person's friend,
No.
and being like, take him back, blah blah blah. But obviously, like, Facebook filters your messages, so like this person didn't have any mutual friends with me, so it wasn't sending me the messages, and I only just found them now, like years later.
oh my God.
So it was kind of like,
Dodged
yeah,
a bullet. Yeah.
oh, absolutely. And yeah, another person that made me quite wary of others.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is why it's like shopping, because before
Yeah.
you buy anything online, what are you going to do? You're going to check what the reviews are,
Yeah.
right? You're going to check the reviews. You're going to see if there's like other websites. You're going to check if it's a scam. But when you're dating, you have none of that. You have none of that protection. It's very much
No.
just
Yeah.
like, I need to meet you as soon as possible to
it's
see
a
if you're a
lot of
real
trust
person.
involved.
It's a lot of trust.
Yeah.
And that's
A lot of
why
risk as
when
well.
people say, meet me at mine or something, that's kind of to the person where you're meeting at theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, it was, I had my flatmates there, like, everything was fine. It's a position of maybe power
Yeah,
where
it's
like
a
you feel
power.
safe and you can meet
Yeah.
them at the door and then not let them in. I actually had one friend who did that, where they were like, somebody who arrived at their door, who they've been talking to online, was not who they said they were, showed them around the flat, and then asked them to leave.
I mean,
this is my flat now, I'd like you to leave.
No, it's like, this is the front door, this is this bedroom, this is the kitchen, the living room, now leave, this is the front door.
And it sounds really harsh, and there's obviously more to that story, but the whole concept is that you're both shopping, like both parties are shopping, and you both have intentions, and as long as you're clear about the intentions, like, I don't want a relationship, this is just for fun, I'm just trying to enjoy my life and having some experiences as individuals, let's split the bill, let's have a good time, let's see how this goes, those types of kind of open conversations are great, but it all starts online. And I've also found with Etiquette that a lot of the pickup lines, you know how like when you're engaging online, you've got you've got that first opening. So Tinder, it was mostly because I was one of the early users of Tinder. It was like Tinder came out 2013, 2014. OG, yeah. So I used Tinder a lot in the early days, and I found it very, very weird because obviously girls never message you on Tinder ever. Yeah. So you're doing all the graft, and a lot of the time it's like message, trying to create some sort of engagement, and they're just not replying back to you, and you're like, eventually you have to just cut it and just cut your losses, because they're not engaging with you. And then eventually you find somebody who is engaging with you, and in a weird way you kind of have to find that balance of maybe you have a long conversation with them, but if it's happening over a couple of days and it still doesn't result in a meeting of some sort, it's not going anywhere. People
have different rules on timing as well. When it's quite interesting because now with Bumble, like, women have to message first, so I think the dynamic has changed. That I now message quite a lot of people first, but I think there is still more half and half on Hinge and Tinder. But like, I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. I have one friend that if someone hasn't asked her out to like meet in person, after 48 hours, she's going to drop that convo. And then someone else has the opposite of like, oh, I want to speak to someone online for the week before I meet them.
Oh, really?
And I think that's quite interesting.
I think it just depends on the vibe. Like, if I personally liked to meet the person, because it's like, what's the point of me being on this app if I'm not going to meet you? Yeah, it's like, exactly. I'm not looking for a pen pal. Yeah,
literally
so,
my line every
honestly,
time.
I wouldn't have a rule of like time. It would just kind of be like, okay, do I fancy this person? Do I see potential in wanting to date them? And then kind of go from there, and like whether the chat is good and stuff like that, and then you kind of like make a judgment from there. But you can't just, I don't know, I think it's a bit odd to be like, okay, if he doesn't ask me within 48 hours, that's a bit like intense. It's like, why are you putting that much pressure onto something that's
you're filtering
relaxed?
out all the shy boys. They're the best ones.
Shy boys.
Yeah, I like them shy boys. No, I literally had Tinder for like a week, and that was about me. Like, I'm such a like in-person like feeling kind of like I need to meet someone and be like, vibe, like, let's go home. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, like when I was single, like never afraid to like meet someone straight away and be like, I like you, let's go home together. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, very blunt,
it works.
blunt and straightforward.
That's
like,
really
I'm like,
admirable.
yeah,
I
I'm
wish
just
I could
like,
do that.
yeah, like I would happily give a guy my number straight away and be like, look, here's my number, give me a phone call. Like, do you know what I mean? Because I was just like in that point.
What's the worst that can happen?
In the point in my life, like where I have given guys my number. I remember actually, I remember I was sitting in this coffee shop. I was sitting in this coffee shop, and there was this guy, obviously my type, big beards and very shaggy hair. He was really cute, really nice, like blue eyes. And I was like, he's very cute. And I was like doing work. I don't know. I was probably just pretending to do work just so I could look at him. I finally, like, was like, okay, I want to leave kind of thing. I'm going to go and give this guy my number. And so I walk up to him and I sit down and I'm like, hey, like, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And like, we just start chatting, and I'm like, basically, like, I give him my number, and then and it's funny because we were talking about religion. He was just, I was like, oh, like, what are you working on? He was like, oh, I'm working on this like religious like paper. And I'm like, oh, are you doing like world religions or studies in like school or something? He was like, no, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. And I was like,
and you're like, give me back my number. Give me back my fucking number.
I think he saw my reaction, and like I literally.
Did he give it back?
He was like, I know. I just went, oh. I was like, okay. I was like, bye.
Yeah, you're like, I'm done.
And I was
Been
like,
there.
good for you.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm glad you follow the Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Which is great for some people. Some people are like,
but it
that's
was just
exactly
the way
what I
he
need.
put it.
Distinguished.
He was
That's like such a turn off.
It was like he was offended that I was hitting on him because he was a follower of the Lord Jesus Christ.
And obviously women should not initiate things.
Yeah, should not.
If you believe in Jesus,
Sinner.
women should never take
Melanie.
it.
Absolute sinner. Like, poor guy. Never got my claws into that one.
His loss.
But that was probably the only, like, not the only time, definitely not the only time, but that one time I'd given someone my number and I'm like, I instantly regret this.
Yeah. But I think I need to, because I think in an ideal world, like every relationship, I've been in 3 kind of long-term relationships and they've all been people that I've met. Well, actually, no, the last one I met, I think, on Bumble, but the other ones I met in person, and I would love to meet people in real life. And I actually have a friend who stays on leave, and she's epic because she just started to go up and like to bartenders and stuff and give people the numbers, and I was like, I need to do this, like, but it takes a lot of courage, doesn't it? Especially when your background is not that boldness, you know, like that's something that I'm really actually just learning this year, that boldness, and it's hard, it's uncomfortable.
It's when guys ask you, I remember, like, this was when I was in the States and I must have been at least 17, 18 or something like that. Someone asked me for my Facebook and I literally looked at it, and we were vibing like hard all night in this like club, like, and I was just like, literally, I was like, if you don't find a pen right now and ask me for my number properly, I was like, I will never see or speak to you ever again. And he literally found $1 in his pocket.
Oh wow.
And then I ended up like finding a pen from the bartender and like writing it down. But I just think that like there's just certain things for me personally that I'm just like, ask me out properly. Like if I'm gonna ask you out, like I'm gonna do it properly. Like do you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
Like just be
it's courtesy.
Don't ask me for my Facebook so you can look at who my siblings are and my fucking family. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your Facebook is like, I've had it for years, like since I was probably like 14. I don't want you on there if you're a stranger.
It's more intimate, isn't it? It's maybe, as you said, I mean, I'm actually personally...
Sorry,
no, but as you looked at
it's very fair. It's very fair.
I weirdly, like, I used to have my Instagram connected to my dating apps, and I've actually disconnected it because I think it's almost like that second... I think someone needs to ask for that, if that makes sense. It's like a second vetting.
Yeah.
Second check. You don't have to keep that person. Like I would accept people on Facebook that I've met on Tinder, and then if the date didn't go well, like you just remove them on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like I go through my Facebook regularly and cull people that
I need to do that.
My rule on Facebook is if you would not talk to that person or say happy birthday to them, they're not your friend.
So I guess
oh my god,
my
99% of my Facebook.
Then you need to
half of my
remove
family.
them. These are people
guys.
who know so much.
I don't have that kind of time.
Oh, bless.
My bad, guys. I forgot all y'all's birthdays.
I think the last piece of etiquette for me that I realized was some people love to be sort of chased. And there are some people, right, they're just like, okay, I want you to chase me, and they kind of say it in a way, and they even the playfulness of their words and the way you interact with them, and then you meet them in person, you realize that they actually want that, and it's not about the physical interaction part of it. It's the fact that they're leading you on, as in they kind of push you around this kind of vibe of, ooh, like I'm really into this, and then when you get really close to it, then they take it away, or they build up an expectation and they remove that, or they will take you on more and more dates, and they'll kind of build this kind of scenario around it, but they're playing the game because they enjoy that. And for some people that's great, for some people that's what you want, but for me, I realized early on, or maybe too late, to not fall for some of the challenges that's around that I didn't like the chase. I found the chase very boring. I found it very confusing. That doesn't mean that I didn't get good at it, because it was, you could read the signs.
The game.
It's
the game.
But I think the game, for me, I felt like it was mostly played by women. And it may have actually caused a lot of men to become what they did, or what I found a lot of my friends to become on Tinder, which is to become very quick for gratification, because the chase forces you into this kind of like, you're not sure what is happening and when it's going to happen and where you stand. So get in there quick. So get in there quick, because otherwise it'll never happen.
Yeah.
And it's
so
it's really weird.
Like online dating and stuff.
Online dating's become this kind of like
it changes mindsets in the way people.
It's like a race course.
And it's also
because you're scared.
It's the unknown as well, and it's that, again, scarcity culture. You're like, quick, we've got to buddy up. Quick, you know, gotta fuck someone quickly, and then as you said, preserve yourself, so you shy away. And it's so interesting to hear, you know, your perspective, because on my end, I feel like it's more the other people, but I think that might also just be our personality types as well, you know. Oh man, it's so interesting. But it comes. Oh, I had something that I really wanted to say. I'm trying to.
It'll come.
It will come. Maybe.
If it's about the you talked about this culture of like limited resources, let's call it, just to make it simple for everyone else. I think there is this kind of desire, even inherently, that we all need to find a partner. Like, I didn't realize it until later on in my kind of relationship trauma, let's call it, because you know you fall in love with somebody, or you think it's love, and I look back on relationships that I have had at different levels, whether they've been like 2 years long, or 6 months, or 1 month, or 6 days, right? Sometimes well, in my opinion, I loved all of these people in different ways. Sometimes I fell head over heels, and there was full rose tinted glasses, you know, all the possible words you can imagine. Like, I was just not seeing what my friends saw, what other people could see from the outside. Or I kind of got really scared, or everyone else's relationship, I'm the only single one in my friend group. And then you settle for less, or you don't find somebody who's right for you.
100%.
That point about scarcity, when I was 16 and I lost my virginity, I was, by guys, constantly forced into saying, you know, you need to do it. Like, oh my God, you're 16, you haven't lost your virginity. So from a guy's perspective, or at least from mine, because obviously it's my own perspective and the perspective I've heard from others who are guys or close guy friends, that there's a lot of like pressure, and I felt this pressure as well, to do something, not because I wanted to. And I don't think the way that I lost my virginity, or the way that you know, it led on from there, was very beneficial to myself or my partner at the time. And even going forward, the way that I fell into relationships, or fell into physical relationships with people that I didn't really know, I don't think that was the right thing to do. And it was almost the situation around me, and the way that I was being told what to do. And the same with this, you've mentioned it before, you laughed about it, but you know, this fuckboy culture. Those fuckboys were just little boys, or just nice guys who maybe were hurt once upon a time.
Not all of them.
Not all of them, you know, but again, every single person was grown, right?
That's true.
No child is born evil,
well.
right? No child is born with those, that, you know, that fuckboy mentality. No. We have physical needs, and, you know, our genetics, when our biology forces
of our upbringing.
We are.
Yeah, that's so true.
So I think that, you know, that is 100%. A huge impact.
And it makes you, if you've had a bad experience, or like you've maybe been hurt by someone, or felt like you lost the game, or you lost the game. You got ghosted and you didn't get closure, you then, I think we were speaking about this before, like you should then go and seek better experiences, don't you? You go and try and find better people, you sleep with other people, and you're like, this will be better. And then when it's not, you just, like, it becomes the grind, because you're trying to find something better, and you're trying to find a better experience, and it can just be quite debilitating, especially if there's so much unknown. If you're playing the game, and the people that you're interacting with aren't being forthright, which some people hate people being like upfront, but to be honest, I'm like, I'd much rather that, and cause that tiny bit of pain in the moment, rather than like that kind of months where aren't we, that give and flow. And then if they end up ghosting you, like Psycho Ryan did, like he, you know, we just kind of stopped talking, because I think I'd eventually pulled his, you know, like we're saying, pulling teeth, and I eventually got him to say, like, and relationships too much admin, so I just want something casual. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I was like, I would like something casual, but it needs to be like open to the intent of being something more. Kind of like, you know, how you guys started, like that idea of like what, otherwise you have to set an end date. Otherwise it's
just like, so basically you just want me to come over, have sex and then leave. So you don't want a conversation, you don't want a deep connection.
Which is
it's
okay
like,
for some people.
Which is totally different in the sense of like when I was single and kind of like meeting people, I was never doing it with the intention of trying to sleep with a bunch of people. I only slept with people that I felt I had this deep connection with and that I wanted to deepen that connection with for like, you know, it was never like I had one night stands and then, well, I did have like, I think maybe one or two, but like almost every person I slept with, I would sleep with them like for the next month or something, or like see them for the next month or something, or even for longer. And then I would gain something from it and they would gain something from me. Like I always tried to give them a little part of myself, like even if it's a sense of like, you know, giving them, sharing experiences or sharing my perspective and vice versa, like learning something. But if you're just like, what's the point of, like, you might as well just wank. Like, just have a wank.
You're like, what's the difference?
That's what I mean. Is like, don't just use me as your like wanking flesh bag. Like,
exactly. Like, just get a fleshlight. Like, come on.
that is honestly that could be a brand.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is like
a wanking flesh bag.
A wanking flesh bag. Like I'm a person. I'm a person. My name is Anakin. I was like, I'm a person, and you need to like acknowledge that. Otherwise, if you can't have a general connection or even a little bit of a connection,
or a conversation, literally, then it becomes transactional.
Yeah.
And then you're
how
like,
much money are you going to give me now?
You're like, literally, I think there's such a fine line. And then otherwise, like, I think if you're seeing someone casually, fine, but unless you have an end date, or like you mutually decide, you're literally waiting for someone else to come on that you'd rather, like, as you're saying, shopping, like, oh, I'm going to actually return this. And you're just like, then I think people just need to be clear, because like it gets old, doesn't it?
Yeah, it would have been better if he just let you know from the start, this is what,
exactly,
like, you know, this is my intention.
Yeah.
100%.
This is what's happening.
And that's okay, because I'd much rather that. Like,
it just makes it easier for you to then be able to, okay, like, that's not what I'm looking for, so I'm not going to do this.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Thanks for letting me know.
Basically, if you're listening to the podcast, just be honest. Just be honest.
Yeah, just be honest.
Honesty.
Yeah.
Don't
clear
lie.
with
In
your
every
intentions.
situation, like if you feel like I need to say something, then just say it. Don't ever like hold back. Like I feel like there's so many situations that you'll regret, like leaving them, being like, why didn't I say this? Why didn't I say that? I could have spoke my truth. And the whole point of this podcast is being able to share your truth, share your story, so that if someone is listening right now and has been in a situation or potentially will be in a situation like this, then they know what to do in that sense. Like, don't live our regrets.
No, and I think it's such an important thing that you guys are doing, because what's helped me in this season of singleness that I've kind of been in, dating, is like listening to, there's, you know, a couple of really great podcasts that we can link if you want to, like later on as well, that just, that you just, I think sometimes, especially when you get a wee bit older, like, and you're out of uni and you're, people are settling down, which is great. You sometimes think, like, what's wrong with me? And there's nothing, like, everyone's doing things at different times.
Yeah.
But sometimes if you've not got single friends who are living the same experience, it really helps to hear stories that people have gone through. And so that's what's really helped me recently, is listening to a couple of podcasts and be like, like, you have to sometimes learn the kind of lingo, as we were talking about, like, learn, you know, coping mechanisms of, as you were saying, like, sometimes maybe dating more than one person at once, so that you're not falling in love too deeply with someone's potential and then getting heartbroken. You know, you need to, like, spread the risk, is what my sister said. That's what she did with her.
Love that.
Yeah, spread the risk. And then, I mean, to be crude, like, have a roster, maybe have like a couple of people that you're seeing. So that
have a rota, you know, rotate them
that
out.
way, like,
I'm sorry, my Tuesday is booked up.
Great.
Well, actually, when you're dating multiple people at the same time, you're able to then realize who you actually like,
and what you don't
What you
like.
like.
and then you kind of start eliminating people, and then you're like, okay, this is the one left. So
This is the
but
one.
hopefully they're mutual towards you as well.
Exactly. And like having like an ick list, like we're talking about icks, like it's sometimes, because I'm definitely guilty of falling really hard for people and then like getting crushed, and sometimes it's helpful when you're very much very emotive to have like a rational, like, maybe a list or just mentally or physically of like, when that's maybe something that I'm not too sure about their reaction to when I told them that personal thing and they were kind of weird about, like having a list of things that you're actually like, you know, those are kind of icky. It's helpful if you're getting too deep into the, oh my gosh, like we could go on this holiday or we could like have like a great, it brings you back to reality, and then it helps you evaluate, as you're talking about, like logically, what is this good for me? Is this bringing joy to my life? Or actually, maybe it's time for me to step back from this person because it's maybe not that healthy.
Yeah. No, I've definitely been there where you over fantasize and then because I'm super impulsive and then I allow it to become reality and I'm like, holy shit, I don't want to be here.
I've always explained it kind of like a painting. So like you look at the painting and it's your picture, and then you imagine that person in that picture, and then they don't fit. So then you try to like do everything you possibly can to make them fit, and then you just get kind of heartbroken because you're like, oh shit, they just don't fit in my fucking picture. And then you find someone that does, or does for a period of time,
and you can't force someone to fit.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so true.
And I think that's when people start to maybe push others to change and things like that.
It doesn't
and it's
work.
like, it's you're never gonna make someone better by just like changing them to what you like.
Yeah, that's so true. That's what I mean. Is like so many people in relationships I see a lot is like trying to like overhelp your partner, like in a relationship can sometimes be so detrimental to your relationship, rather than allowing them to go through that journey and have those experiences and find that self-discovery. Like for instance with Brodie, like just for music in a sense, like whenever we first met, like he wasn't pursuing music at all. And I was like, what the fuck, man? Like you've got a banging voice. Like you've got such a personality. Your songwriting ability is just amazing. I was like, this is what you should be doing. But I never forced him to do anything. I just gave him options. Like I just said, we can do this if you want, like, you know, but I never forced him to go out and find gigs or do this or do that. And although it's taken time and years of time of him to realize his own potential before, like, it's good to see potential in someone and to, again, invest in that person. And maybe they will be worth your investment. Maybe you spend a year, but then later on they realize that, holy shit, actually they're right. I can do it. And you inspired them. So it is good to just feed, like, you know, to see potential in people and kind of really invest into it. But it's also not okay to bully, or not bully, but just shame someone into forcing them into their journey faster than they should be going.
100%.
Where now he's at the point, because he's had all this time to come to that mental realization, to build up his confidence, to build up his self-awareness, to build up all these different areas and his like mental wellness and everything, to be able to now accept any success that comes into his life. And then it's happening now. Like, do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's like, and it's so much more rewarding to watch the process rather than feeling like I need to intervene in the process, like, you know, because I want the best for him, obviously, and I want the best for our family, but also you need, and in the sense of even child rearing, like you, like being an overbearing parent, like you have to let your children go through experiences and obviously protect them as much as you can, please, please. But also in the sense of like, for me, I always want to, if I know about like, you know, something happening at school, it's like that line, when do I step in and when do I let the child try to do it themselves? If it gets to the point where they've tried and they can't, then you kind of step in and help if they ask for help. But it's like definitely like, that kind of,
and that makes
being
a lot of
supportive.
sense. Exactly.
Being supportive.
Creating a space for someone to be their full self, but not forcing anyone. Exactly.
And that's how people flourish.
But also being careful that you don't get into a position where you are fully invested in that person and you don't see the signs that they are not doing good by you or they are not having a positive influence on you. Because I've been in relationships in the past where the other person has definitely not been a positive influence on me. And as in a lot of relationships, they've not been.
Yeah.
It's always been negative.
Yeah.
And outside looking in, you can see that, and I can see that. We've got friends sometimes that we've seen and gone, oh, they're definitely in a toxic relationship. This is not going to end well, and it tends to end in tears.
Yeah.
And I was in one particular one I'm thinking of where my partner at the time didn't want me to do something with my career and with my life that they didn't see would fit into their vision, their painting of me, and their painting in general. And it took me a while to realize that that person was holding me back, not just holding me back from just everything, but just holding me back from doing what I wanted to do with my life, and they weren't supportive of me. And it took me breaking up with that person for them to realize that what I really, really wanted from them was not to break up with them, was not something new in my life, not to be single. It was to have a partner that supported me. And I was very, very lucky when I met Maggie, that she was very supportive of me. As soon as I said to Maggie that I wanted to start a business, no one else supported me. I mean, I'm not saying my family wasn't supportive and my friends weren't supportive in their own way, but they weren't like, oh my God, you should do this, go for it.
Yeah.
They didn't give me that sort of like excitement that I needed, because I was on the fence myself, right? This is a big decision. Like I turned down graduate jobs, like really, really well paid graduate jobs, and jobs that I'd been working towards for my entire university career. And I turned them down, or rather decided not to do them, and to start a business, which is one of the most amazing things that I've ever done, but also the hardest thing. And, has left me with a different kind of respect for people who, at the end of the day, have to cover and have a responsibility for people's salaries.
Yeah.
Every business owner is responsible for their employees' salaries. So that's a huge responsibility on the shoulders of a young, 20-something-year-old.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't without the support of Maggie that I could have done that. So if I wasn't in a supportive relationship at the time, I don't think I would have made that decision, let alone have been able to implement it. Not that I'm saying I didn't have it within me to do, but I think
it was like at the time people were kind of like, are you sure that's the right thing for
planting
you to do?
self-doubt.
But the funniest part is I was so naive. I was like, do whatever you want. I was literally like, follow your dream, because he was like, I want to go traveling, and I was like, I'll come with you. And then he was like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And I was like, you're such a good like business person, like you're such a good, even though he was just finishing university, I was like, I just can imagine you like owning your own business. And then it just kind of went from there. But I think it is like the closest person to you supporting you is all you need.
Exactly.
I mean, like even me and Maggie with the podcast and our media company, the amount of people who have felt like they really, really needed to input their opinion on our decision to create all of this, it's just I don't know, it's just funny. It's like, to me, it's almost like watching someone, like me telling them about an idea or a thing that we're doing our business, and then watching someone input their insecurities onto me. So project their insecurities onto me and you, and being like, and then just expecting us to just take it all in, and then being offended when we're like, no, actually, that's not how we feel.
Or even bringing that even back, like actually having each other and saying the idea of, let's start a podcast. It was just a random day. I was sitting by the window. We were talking on the phone, as we usually did, for 2 hours. And I was like, we should start a podcast.
Yeah.
And you were like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, fuck it, let's do it.
And that was like the thing. It's like, you need to have a person like that's so close to you that is like, yes. Like I literally have this policy in my brain where I'm like, I will never say no to Melanie, because I don't know if what she's saying is the next big idea.
And that was the first of many episodes that they kissed one another.
No, that's so true. Like that's like literally, we were just on the phone today and we were just like, you were saying like, oh, let's change this, change that. I'm like, yeah, I love change. Let's change it every week. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't care. Like let's always embrace change. Let's always try to like create something new. Let's always invite that kind of like creativity energy in our lives, because that's what's going to keep us happy, and that's what's going to keep us like, that's our purpose. That's our purpose.
Love it.
Yeah. Oh my god, we met.
So yeah.
But on this lovely positive note,
Yeah.
we're just gonna have to wrap it up here because
Yeah.
I think this is such a lovely dynamic we've got here that we could
Yeah.
talk all day,
honestly,
all night.
honestly.
But
Absolutely.
Beth, would you like to plug yourself in at all?
Yeah, plug yourself.
Or you don't have to.
Plug your book.
No, you can find the book in most stores, Warstones, Oliver Bonus. I think I'm on B Pearson 1995 on Instagram. That
Yeah.
might be wrong, but we can correct that later.
We'll tag her.
And yeah, I think I just post mostly on my stories about just really interesting things, mostly happening around Edinburgh, in terms of like letting everyone enjoy good things about Scotland and living in Scotland.
You can slide into her DMs.
Or her Bumble.
Exactly.
Come
But then
find me.
She'll have to message you first. So.
Yeah.
And Selby, would you like to plug yourself in at all?
I'm more likely to unplug myself.
Yeah,
But, fair enough. No, I think
He's actually charging right now.
Make sure his cable's in.
Oh God, this is the wrong Selby. Let's
it's the wrong
get that
cell.
one.
So we got to swap out.
This one's broken.
What I would say is that obviously, I'm sure if you search my name on Google, you'll find me. It's one of those things. So,
Leave us with some insight, Selby.
Yeah.
What's some insight?
Well, I think what I would say is that a relationship doesn't just have to be physical. It doesn't have to be sexual, right? Relationships should be more than that. And as soon as Maggie said, would you like to do this podcast? Immediately what came to mind was not topics or like stories. It was immediately like 6 like really key points that I've learned over making many mistakes in relationships, being the bad guy, doing a variety of different things maybe wrong or not the right way. Mm-hmm. And the most important thing for me was trust. And the second most important thing was understanding, being able to understand what your partner is actually really about, communicating with one another, and making sure that you coordinate, that it's not just about me, it's a team. You coordinate with one another, you're communicating constantly, you understand what each other wants, and you trust one another. Yeah. And that's before that all happens, you need to network, you need to meet people, you need to understand who it is that you actually are going
and
to
yourself.
And yourself, yeah. And then you need to be prepared to fall in love. It's going to hurt. There's going to be infatuation. There's going to be points where you found different layers of it. And whether that person ends up becoming your number one, your partner for life, whatever you want to call it. By the way, Zeus has just walked into the room. He's our beautiful cat.
He actually opened the door by himself.
He did. He's very, very smart. Yeah. And unfortunately, the camera can only see. Oh, there he is. Hey, little buddy.
Oh, that's
we
so
love you
cute.
Too. Yeah.
Oh, that chunky
So yeah, that's my plug. That's my plug.
Was Selby's plug.
Just look after one another.
Nuggets of wisdom.
Hi, Zeus.
Oh wow.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening to our podcast. Thank you for coming and watching if you're watching at home. If you can find us on Facebook, No One's Looking Podcast, Instagram, what other platforms?
So we're also on Patreon. If you would like to support us, this is our full-time job. So if you want to donate £2 a month,
price of a coffee.
Yeah, basically it's like you're buying us a coffee a month.
We have to share the coffee.
And basically we kind of just share stuff behind the scenes, or kind of like, I don't know, extra videos exclusive content. Yeah, so basically we're just giving you something a little bit extra so you can, I don't know, bond with us more.
Appreciate us even more. Yeah. And we can find that deeper connection.
Melanie can find that deeper connection with you guys. So thanks for
so much
coming over.
Thanks for having us. It's been really fun.
Yeah.
It's been great,
guys.
Thanks so much, guys.
And
woohoo.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.
Get the tunes on.
I just love
He's doing this.
I don't even know what this thing is. It just feels right.
We need to go clubbing soon.
That's my voice.
It's great. I love it.
Melanie made this.
Yeah,
I will download
really cool.
it. Listen to it. It's great.
The tune. Hey, Zeus.
Hey, Carol.
I just love how it cuts out.
Yeah, it's like,
I just-
Basically, I made the demo, and then Maggie was like, I
You're
love it. And I
so
was like, cool,
tired.
I'll just leave it as it is.
as is.
Oh.
Different.